Good evening.
Everywhere I go on this island, it seems to me I find degeneracy.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes. See, it's a lot scarier when there's no motive, see.
We have a bargain.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes.
Do you feel the pain? Always fear. Pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite.
Watch a few movies, take a few notes.
His entire work consists of violence, all the time. Obsessed with the issue of violence. Mayhem, gouging out of eyes, autopsies on the stage.
Come. It is time to keep your appointment.
Not the bees, not the bees, no! Hello everyone, how are you doing? Welcome to episode 127 of Double Feature Horror Show in the month of October, in which we are focusing on much more intense fare than we would usually do. This may have been a hard watch for a fair few of you. So we'll start off with something nice and easy, something quite light before we get into probably the goriest film I've ever covered on the channel. I think it's fair to say. Yeah, don't think there's too much competition, except for, you know, the film that we're doing on Sunday, but we'll get into that later. We'll cover it as we go. I am not alone in this endeavor, of course. TCG is hard in the edit, the poor guy. I know his pain, given that I have still not quite finished the edit for my nearly 3-hour Scream 6 video. So, thoughts and prayers for TCG, basically. We know how that suffering is. Hopefully I will clear my own video for you as soon as possible. So TCG is not here. Think well of him. However, returning guest, favourite of the channel, Yizz, is joining us again to discuss Evil Dead. How you doing, Yizz?
I'm doing just fine. I had a wonderful event recently, a big in-person meetup over the last weekend. Some people came in around the middle of last week, and the main event was Friday through Sunday. Big camping trip, big patriotic good time of a bunch of Americans coming together to celebrate grilling delicious meat and shooting all kinds of large firearms that would be illegal pretty much everywhere else in the world. So a really jolly time for an American, especially an Appalachian such as myself.
Oh, I love the sound of it. You know, I like a bit of camping myself. I'm decidedly jealous. Obviously, the guns we are famously deprived of here.
Yeah.
You know, when we go out
well, don't get me started talking about guns. This will be a 4-hour stream. We better leave that alone.
No, fair enough. I'm just saying, like, going out to the woods and sort of comparing dessert spoons. It doesn't have the same appeal, does it? Yes.
No.
No. Also, chat, good to see so many regulars in there. I hope you enjoyed this one. Hello, the Alabastard. Hello, the Enriab. Hello, John Gors. Hello, Mergook, Dr. Prepper as well. Maverick Hunter, good to see you. Johnny Recaps Movies, if you're still in. Hello. And 70 Sue. Have I missed anyone? I don't think so. If I have missed you, do say. I'd hate to be rude. We are going to play a little game show. I did promise. Before we get into this, so we'll get into
boy.
But first, you know, we have good people on here. We want to talk about what they're up to. So yes, I've seen someone mention that you have recently done a review of Krull. I think I heard this before.
Yeah, certainly.
I need to watch this.
Yeah, my work that is not meme or political based does stay up on YouTube, so you can find this one on my YouTube. Let me share the link to you so you can share it to everyone here.
Yes, please.
I'm putting it in the private chat now for you.
Excellent.
I started, since I grow tired of having to cover real world news, I am driven to make a difference and to try to guide people away from the sort of Pied Piper siren's call of doom scrolling and what the current thing is. And that's basically the focus of my mainstream and the push of my channel, is to get people to avoid that stuff and build a healthier life for us Western people. But apart from that, I wanted to embark on something wholesome and healthier. So about 6 months ago, I tried out a new series called Fictional Convocation, where I select friends of mine that are passionate about certain topics, whether they be video games, novel series, particular movies that I think are very important or excellent. And I'll bring on 1 or 2 friends to cover that thing. And recently, I had on Dave Martell of the Bizarre Archives. Many people probably know who that is. Dave Martell and I both think that Krull, the old English movie Krull from like 1983, 1984, is a fantastic story. And so for about 2 hours, me and Dave break down exactly why Krull is awesome and why it kicks the shit out of other things. So if you would like to see my review of Krull and what me and Dave Martell have to say about why traditional stories kick the crap out of modern stories, definitely check this out. We have a lot of positive, healthy things to say, and we celebrate this wonderful English film that, in my opinion, has never been topped for sci fantasy. And I think it's one of the greatest movies ever made in England. So definitely check out that review. We had a great time with that a couple weeks ago.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I didn't know you'd done that with Dave as well. I remember he came on AA's channel and they had a good discussion. So yeah, nice.
Me and Dave are very similar. We're both A-type personalities that have a background of sales and being people persons and that kind of thing. So Dave and I have a very, extrovert charisma going on together. And we happen to like the same kind of fiction, the same kind of stories, the same kind of movies, and we're the same age. So me and Dave get along really well. It's like we could have been best friends in school or something. So we have a good charm back and forth.
Oh, yeah. And also, can I just say a massive agreement? You've got to get your head out the good doom scrolling sometimes.
Oh, sure.
That's a lot of what I do on here as well. Is you gotta get your head clean. Time in the woods, time focusing on positive stuff. It is so necessary.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's good to hear you say that too. I think that if there's any message that people can take from entertainers like us, is no matter how bad things seem, life goes on and you have to contribute to building positive culture around you. Even at the worst of World War II, at the worst of the fall of the Roman Empire, at the worst of any time, people still had to farm, people had to raise children, people went to church, people had to write stories. Just keep living your life and live the best, most productive, involved personal life you can with others of your own religion and ethnicity. And that's basically what every one of us should be doing, because everything else is ephemeral. All the propaganda, all the memes, all the war machine stuff is going to fall to the wayside, and what's going to be left are the people after the smoke clears. And the more that you are involved in real person things, and the more connections you have, and the more you invest yourself into real world, real people of your ethnicity and your faith around you, the better chance you have at contributing to not just a healthy life for you, but to the embetterment of our people for the future. So that's my message I have about why not to doom scroll.
Surround yourself with positivity. I cannot agree with that more. In that vein, I'll do my own bit of shilling. I'll because I haven't got the Scream 6 video out because I talked about it too much and there's too much to edit.
It's too much.
Yes, I really have gone overboard here. I really need to. Anyway,
can you possibly make it 2 parts, or is it impossible to do that?
I'm going to release some segments of it. So I'll release like 2 segments and then the full beast for people to enjoy.
Is that the one that I made a stone cold prophetic prophecy about? Is it
that is the one that you called completely?
Thank you. I definitely won't be watching it then. No, I mean, I'll watch your review. I'm just not watching the movie.
Yeah, you do not need to do your homework. It's like Mauler. I've been thorough enough. You do not need to watch it.
Okay, cool.
And that also prevents anyone fact checking me. But on the more productive side, I did actually, well, people have seen this already, but I'll just share this on the channel because this was a good time. I went on a little trip recently and I met some fine fellows. These lads. Can we see that all right?
Oh, hello, friends.
Is that showing up? There we go. Yeah.
I'm not in the habit of watching Lantus. Is it good? Did you have a good time there?
It is when I'm on. Yeah, they are good people. They are lovely in real life. Getting out, actually meeting people face to face. It was a good time. I went over there.
I have a question. Did the young people there even know what your shirt means?
Oh, it was painful. No, they remembered. Some of them remembered.
Okay, because I was going to say I take it for granted being old like you. Like not I'm not casting aspersions. We're not children anymore. And I just sometimes I take for granted the references we get versus people 20 years younger than us.
Yeah. They did get it. I mean, the more seasoned veterans in the building appreciated it a lot more. But I love these guys. But crikey, they are young. They are young. No, they're really lovely in person. They're absolutely great. We had a lovely conversation about horror. Yes, and I filmed a separate thing with Harry that I don't know if it's premium, I don't know if it's general release, but it was a really good conversation about some of the I sort of condensed some of the BBFC history stuff and brought it a bit more into sort of political theory.
Harry's a good chap. I like Harry.
Oh, Harry's absolutely wonderful. So yes, look forward to that, folks. I don't know when it's coming out. Also Murgut has called it completely. Yes, Josh is being Jeffrey Combs from Reanimator. We couldn't get him a green drink, alas.
Why not?
God bless him. We tried looking, but yeah, we had that. All right. I will stop.
You could just buy some glow sticks and rip them open and pour it in a beaker. That would work.
Oh, that would have done the job, wouldn't it? That would have done it. Yes. So. Oh, how am I going to do this one? But yeah, that was good. I don't know when it's going to come out, but I will let you know. But it was a good time. And they're good folks. Yes, Midori would have done the job as well. We could, if only. Well, before we get into a dark and grim film, sorry, the other thing I've got to do. You're good at reminding me of this year, so I'll. The other thing I've got to do in a shill while we're on YouTube is actually shill,
oh, yes. Subscribe star. Yes, sir. Do it.
Exactly. All that good stuff. So, folks, I mean, I'll keep it short because you know how to do it. If you want to see content like this, YouTube requires you to interact with it. I trust you, but YouTube doesn't. So interacting with the stream is the best way to make sure you see it and also the best way to get the word out, which is very hard to do on this platform. So liking it, subscribing if you haven't subscribed already. If you're one of those wonderful rewatch people, hey, I know about 40% of you watch regularly but haven't subscribed. Just come over, click the subscribe button. It's absolutely fine. And if you want to go a little further than that, that's super appreciated, especially in the month of October. You can imagine my spending on horror is a little increased in that period. You can use the super thanks, you can use the super chat. If you want to keep your money out of YouTube's pockets, then there is a subscribe star account that is linked in the description, and any contributions are very much appreciated. Even if you now know that some of it goes towards me acquiring a genuine 1993 Blockbuster uniform. But some of it, I assume, goes to good causes.
If you would set up an entropy, you would get a lot more anti-YouTube dollars. Especially from me.
Yes, there is a good point. That is something I really need to fix.
Entropy is also very easy to set up and get going, by the way. It only takes a few minutes.
Oh, nice. All right. Well, that is the shilling are done. Thank you very much. There's a bunch of you here, so I'll just get straight on with it. By wasting your time by talking about our wonderful board games.
Woohoo!
Yay! All right, you know how this works, folks. Before we do serious, deep intellectual commentary of a horror film, we're going to do silly
Will of Fortune.
Yay! Is that showing up okay? Excellent, that is. I get a little nervous because I have to flip between screens. So you know how it goes, folks. It's basically like Wheel of Fortune. We're going to do an example round. Yizz is going to take this one. We've got a slight theming. I think the rule we did was 1 vowel, 3 consonants. I'll give you a chance to guess it, and then I will hand it over to chat.
Okay.
And
so
we'll see
how
it
first,
goes. I think so. It gets a little chaotic, but we'll see. I do change the rules basically every time. I've been watching a different game show recently, so I think we might do a horror movie version of Only Connect. But
I'll tell you what, we'll do Wheel of Fortune classics. I'll do RSTLNE. How about that?
RST LNE. Right.
Yeah, I think that was the suggested standards back when I was a kid in the 80s for these. So we'll go with that.
All right. RST and E. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
RSTLNE. Yeah.
LNE. Oh, I think it's 3. Oh, do you get more than that?
I thought it was 5 consonants and a vowel.
I thought it was
only
3 and a vowel. I'll give you 5.
Oh no, it's fine. If we're just doing 3, we'll do RST and E. If we're just doing 3 consonants and a vowel, I'll do RST and E.
I told you it was chaos every time.
Can I solve the puzzle, Alex?
Absolutely.
The hills have eyes.
Nailed it. Yes, good remakes. I realize
You might should let the chat go first. I'm pretty good at these.
Wait. I mean, I'm opening myself up for trouble here because people might say, no, that was that was totally cack. But, I enjoyed it. All right. I'll flip over. All right, chat, it is over to you. It is over to you. I'm going to go on the first person to start guessing. This is still good remakes.
Are we doing chat first or me first?
Let's go with chat first. Actually,
okay.
Well, shall I take Adam Loves Horrors comment? Shall I go with that one?
Well,
or maybe
Adam Loves Horror says that traditionally it has been RSTLNE. So I guess I did remember that right from childhood. But I've not been a regular cable TV watcher since like the late 80s, early 90s. I sort of left all that behind. But
same. Oh, TNFE from Dr. Prepper.
Dr. Prepper, my man. Good to see you here today.
Yeah.
Oh, we have the Alabastard in chat too. Good to see her too. Nice to see you.
And regular. And Mima. Mima I saw earlier. I don't think I said hi earlier, but hi, Mima. All right, where am I going? TNFE. All right, here we go. Okay. It's a good thing I wrote these down. Okay. E. Is that all of them? I think that is all of them. TNFE. Yes, there we go. Good remakes. Good remakes, chat. What do you reckon? Let's see. I'm going to give chat a few seconds and then shall I pass it over? What do you reckon? Do you want to guess or shall I let chat guess a few more letters? I'm not really strict on the rules here.
This one doesn't.
Oh, sorry, Yizz roboting there. Okay, Yizz has dropped out while we get there. Tell you what, I'm going to take a couple more. Mima and Richard, H and O. Are you spelling out my name or insulting me? I don't know. H and O. Okay, that is a very good call there. And H, do I have an H? I don't think I have an H in there. Do we have Yizz back? We don't. Okay, the verdict is pass it to Yizz. I would, but she's gone. Appalachian Wireless is not supportive. Hello, Devonte. You saying yo to sort of greet, or is that a guess for letters? Either way, good to see you, man. Good to see you. We have had a guess. It's so close. It's so close, Yizz. Welcome back.
Hello? Can you hear me at all? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
You just started.
I don't know what the problem was. I didn't lose the internet, I don't think, but StreamYard said, yeah, it's color out of space. I was going to solve it if you guys couldn't, but the StreamYard told me that something was either interfering with my ability to access the StreamYard server or whatever. It was just a little error message that popped up for like a quarter of a second and then disappeared. Oh. So I don't know what the issue was. Hopefully that doesn't happen again because my internet's really good here and I have very stable internet.
Yeah. That's weird.
Bizarre.
Yeah, just suddenly you roboted and then booted. That was weird. Anyway, congrats, Mergoot. Congrats. I think Dr. Prepper. It was an absolute neck and neck between you.
Good job, guys.
Good job.
And just so you know, I I just saw this 2 nights ago. I had never seen this until recently, and I watched it 2 days ago, and it's a lot better than I thought it would be. It's a lot better than I thought it would be. It has a noticeable stink of anti-white paws in it, but if you can look past that, it's a pretty damn good movie.
There were some ESG compliant updates. I'm not going to lie. You get around that, and it's a pretty darn good Lovecraft.
Yep.
Oh, and it's over to you. I remember we watched it. We rated it pretty highly. I mean, we noticed that stuff, but
the only pause in it was making the guy who survived a non-white who was like clearly competent, clearly educational, like a stand-up guy, like not like a Mary Sue, but like, the stand-up excellent person, the one who's the voice of reason and all that, the only non-white in the show. And then every single financial, like, typical hyper masculine role, which was a woman all 3 times it came up in the movie. And I thought that was pretty on the nose girl boss stuff. But that, if you could look past those 2 little things, then the rest of it's, not bad.
The girl boss was that. I think there was also they did some pagan stuff and didn't do their research, which I know annoyed a bunch of people.
It was just like a mishmash of witch retardation at the beginning of it. Yeah.
Yes, over to you to start. Still up
Okay.
The last good remakes one.
The last good remake. Let's see if I can get it without guessing any letters. Let's see. 2, 3, 4. Can you remove that Murgut comment so I can see the boxes?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I still had that. Apologies.
That's okay.
Perky.
All right. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 8, 2, 3, 4, 9.
I shouldn't do really big titles because it makes it a nightmare to find it. If you know me well, you can probably guess this.
I'm going to go with the vowel O. I think that's going to tell me more than an E. Let's go with the O.
An O. All right.
Because I need to know if that 2-letter is of.
It is indeed.
Okay.
Oh, this might take a while. Oh no, there is another one. Okay. That's all your O's. Wait,
is
hang
it?
on. Yes, got it.
It is.
I would advise not looking in chat because people know what I'm obsessed with.
No, looking in chat. I'm not cheating.
Oh, I trust you. I trust you. It's just chat knows me well.
Are the last 4 words of the Lost Continent?
Lost Continent.
Of the Lost Continent.
No.
I know that there's like a dinosaur movie called The Lost Continent, but that's not really a horror movie or remake. Let's see. Okay, we'll do S. Let's get an S out of the way here.
Ready? That will be right.
Okay, so it's definitely not continent. And it's definitely not lost. Okay, so it's of the something.
Also, welcome TCG. Hey. I told chat about your video production issue. With I'm with you, man. I know if you don't do the edited videos, you don't know how long these things take. But I'm with you in spirit, man.
Let's see. It's either it's not of the Lost Continent, so it might not be of. It could be on the something. Let's go with the N next. Let's do N.
All right, going for the N.
Oh! I see it with the SN. Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Got it.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
The N did it for me. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yes, folks. I mean, if you're newer to the channel, I'm a bit of an obsessive. I love this whole series.
I'm sorry if I'm making this too fast. I like puzzles, and I've been doing puzzles and word games for like 35 years. I've loved them since I was a kid, so I get these pretty quick.
Yeah. Oh, don't worry. I mean, in fairness, we probably shouldn't spend 50 minutes doing them, but we did last time. When we do the Only Connect version, I might call it Only Dismember. That might be longer. We'll see. This theme is elevated horror, and this goes to chat. So, Yizz, can you let me know what chat goes with?
Sure.
And we'll get 3 consonants and a vowel from chat, and then let chat guess.
First, we have N.
They always go for that first, sometimes before I've asked them. You know.
I know, it's interesting, isn't it? I wonder why they do that. Good Christians like us wouldn't know why, would we?
Oh, no. I'm just a comedy show.
Next is T. Murgoot has T. So
yes,
there's
that is
an
correct.
N and a T.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm not seeing anyone else putting letters in yet. You guys can have one more consonant and a vowel. So what are we going to do? Give me one more consonant and a vowel.
Oh, I'm going to say it's actually been solved already. I've just looked.
Dr. Prepper. Yeah, Dr. Prepper, I think, just got it.
And Theremin Trees just got in there ahead. I don't recognize the name. Welcome to the channel.
Hi, Theremin Trees. Yeah, I didn't even notice that name till now.
Well done.
Theremin Trees has a check mark. Who are you, Theremin Trees? What do you do, and why are you here?
Oh my God. Yeah,
I'm curious.
Yeah. Anyway, wow, actually, it came in so thick and fast. Yes, Theremin Trees, Dr. Prepper, and Mima were all super close in terms. I mean, correct and also close. Now, people might say this is cheeky. Wasn't this made in the 70s? What? You know, isn't elevated horror the new stuff? It's like, no. There's always horror that has aimed to go above. I recently got a book by David Church called Post Horror, which makes this argument that there's always been horror that played to the gallery and always been horror that was a little higher end. And we've covered a lot of it on this channel.
Give me an example of higher end. Is it sort of like Wes Craven's Final Nightmare, where it like tries to get meta and raise it above normal horror? Or what does that phrase mean, elevated horror?
So David Church uses it to describe horror that is more meta, more consciously artistic.
Sort of like New Nightmare, Scream.
New Nightmare, well, even The Exorcist, I'd say. You know, that's very slow-paced. It's very artistic. Mm-hmm. The Shining, it's slow-paced. It's artistic. It's not what you expect. It's almost a thing of working against audience expectations. I mean, The Shining came out in 1980. So did Friday the 13th. You know, there is a heck of a contrast there. I'm going to be honest, chat. I might give you a review of David Church's book one day. It's from a modern academic, so you can imagine there's a lot I disagreed with. But his opening classification of the genre, I really quite liked.
Okay.
Yes, Richard, The Shining, of course. You know, I say this every time we mention that film, but my original VHS copy of The Shining, in the little preamble where it shows you the copyright, it actually calls it The Shining.
Really?
It's a typo on my VHS. Yes. Okay, moving over to you now, Yizz.
Okay.
Chat's on fire tonight. Okay. It is still elevated horror.
Someone named Devontae Huntley, what a name, says, where are you from? I got a unique accent. I'm doing my best not to have much of an accent on this program, but I am extremely Appalachian, East Tennessee, hillbilly, born and raised. I grew up maybe 45 minutes from Dollywood, where, you know, Dolly Parton's theme park. I am from the hills of East Tennessee, and I have a very powerful, strong, natural accent, but I do my best to sort of speak more normally, especially to the British audience. So I'm doing my best to curb that this time.
Oh, we appreciate it. Devontae's a lovely guy. We've had good chats about horror.
Well, howdy, yes. Devontae. Nice to make your acquaintance. All right. So next up, we've got a single word: elevated horror. Is it scanners?
It's not. It's not going.
Wait, that's too many letters for scanners.
Yeah, get your letters in, and then
let's do.
I think you might one shot this, but we'll see.
Okay. Well, we'll do S. We'll start with S. That's almost always in something. We'll try S.
There is an S. We are just S posting.
Just one. Okay. Let's see. Let's try an L. L as in lamb. L.
Okay. Cool. No L's.
No L's. Okay. How about an N?
But yes, you never take an L, right? All right. Was that an
I do my
N?
best.
That was an N, yes?
Yes.
N or M?
N is in nincompoop.
Okay. Nope. None of them.
Okay. How about an R?
Yes.
Okay.
And
And
you
for a vowel, let's do. It's one word. Let's do. It's probably going to have an E in it, I would reckon.
There are no E's in it. I'm getting nervous. I'm just going to.
Let's do an I then.
Right.
Let's do an I.
Okay. An I is here.
Let's see.
And that's it.
Oh, Midsummer.
Correct. Yes.
All right. Boom.
Spelt in the. I mean, this is kind of cheating because it's spelt in the Swedish way.
Yeah, because at first I was like, what can it be? Is it Spencer Summer? And then once I saw the I there, I was like, oh yeah, Midsummer's not spelled right. So that's
go.
that's a traditional like Swedish way to spell it, you said?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
All right. Final one, and then we'll get into
Excuse
the
me.
actual. No worries. We'll get into the actual content of the stream. I love doing it.
Oh, this is a tiny one.
It's tiny. All right, chat. This is yours. So we'll go with chat. All right. I'm looking for those first guesses. Can you tell me when they come in, please? Yes. This is elevated horror once again, and it's the last one. Last one we'll guess tonight.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5 letters. They're just making guesses. They're not putting letters in.
Oh,
okay,
wow.
there they go. Here comes some letters. L as in lamb.
Oh, okay.
And then A as in acrobat.
Okay, there are no A's.
Okay.
So 2 more consonants. I'll see if anyone's got it. Theremin trees, that is a good guess, but it is not correct.
Well, no one else is guessing letters, so I don't know what to say.
That's all right. We'll wait on chat. I have the latency set low, but I don't have it set extra low because I never know how my internet will handle that. Let's see. Chat, it is your time to get those. I know chat is just considering.
They guessed a C and an R. C is in crumb. R is in rapple.
Oh, there we go. C and R. Right. Let's go with that. There are no C's and there are no R's. So I think, all right, Mima, thanks for dropping by. I hope you
see you,
enjoy
Mima.
Take care. All right. I think it goes over to you for a guess, yes? Would you like to guess
elevated horror?
Would you like to guess a consonant and a vowel?
I don't know enough about, like, I don't have a firm grasp of what people would consider elevated horror. Just a straight up guess. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Ends with an L. One word. Well, I was going to guess cruel, but you said no C.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not looking at chat. Is it something in chat? Did they get it?
Yes, but it's your turn. You can
let chat steal. It's okay. I don't mind. I don't care. You can let them win because I don't know.
All right, fair play.
There it is. Devil.
It is indeed, yes. See?
Good job, Devontae. Good job.
Well done, Devontae. Yes. Yeah, people may quibble, but yeah, the whole movie's set in an elevator. So
well, I've never even heard of that movie, so I wouldn't have got it.
It's a terrible joke. It's an M. Night Shyamalan movie late in the day.
No.
I'm sorry, folks. I couldn't resist it. I couldn't
slap
it. All right. I hope you forgive me for that one. We will focus now on the meat of the stream. Half an hour in.
Better get a chainsaw.
Oh no,
that was a Doom joke. Did you get it? It was a Doom joke.
Better get a
It's
chainsaw.
I love boomer shooters. I'm an old school PC gamer, and in classic Doom, when you pick up a chainsaw, it says "find some meat."
Oh,
And since
I
there's a
know, I
chainsaw
forgot that.
associated with sawing meat in this, I decided to make that joke. So there we go.
Oh, no, sorry. I've played Doom so much, but I forgot that. Nice.
Well, thank you, Theremin Trees. I was proud of that joke. Thank you.
Nice, yeah. And I've referenced slapping on the old IDDQD when someone has plot armor before.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
I forgot find some meat, alas. All right, well,
I just finished up playing the WAD Valiant today with my husband. We like playing through some of the best Doom WADs together for fun, and we just finished up Valiant.
We don't know it.
Made by Skillsaw. Skillsaw is one of the most legendary Doom mappers and WAD builders. But anyway, I don't want to turn this into a boom shoot stream. Let's continue.
Right. No worries. All right, so we will set the tone for you folks. Evil Dead, and I note Evil Dead, there is no proper article there. It is just Evil Dead. It is from 2013, and it has its place in a long-running franchise. Now, I'm sure you guys know this, but we'll go over it anyway. The original film, The Evil Dead, has quite a storied history, coming in, I want to say, 1981, I believe.
Yep.
It is effectively the debut, the full feature-length debut of one Sam Raimi. Now, he made the demo version of it as, I believe, Within the Woods, and once he got that, it was enough to effectively get backers to make a full feature-length, which became The Evil Dead. From that, we got a very well regarded and much more comedic sequel, Evil Dead 2 Dead by Dawn, and which was, I want to say, 1986, but do fact check me if I've got that wrong.
I think it was around there, yeah.
Yeah. And then it was followed by Army of Darkness. In Europe, we had it subtitled The Medieval Dead, which I always loved.
Which is an odd thing to call that, but whatever.
Very odd, very odd. And after that, it went a bit silent. It had done the trilogy, and then it all quietened down. Sam Raimi went off to do many, many other things, from westerns to the best Spider-Man movies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes
Interesting footnote about that. The Sam Raimi Spider-Man, I think at the time when it came out, was one of the highest production budget movies. And it was exactly 100 or 1,000 times more expensive to make than his first movie, Evil Dead, back in 1981. I think it was a factor of, let's see, 350 million versus 350,000 is a 3 zeros. So 1,000 times more expensive. Yeah. Because the Spider-Man movie was 350 million to make. And I thought that was just interesting that he went from, at the beginning of his career, making one of the best cheap movies and then made one of the best expensive movies 30 years later. I just think that's really incredible.
That is some like Peter Jackson career trajectory there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like that. There was a question there from John Garris. What was the one he made with Keanu? That is a movie called The Gift. I rewatched that recently. I don't think it aged all that well. Like the subtlety.
I've never seen it, so I have no opinion.
Yeah, that it's an attempt to do a sort of southern, more sort of unnerving psychic horror. It's not terrible, but I think some of the things haven't aged super well in it. The subtleties there aren't really there, to be honest. But it was interesting to watch. Anyway, the franchise goes a bit quiet, and it stays that way until basically the late 2000s. And that happens because, chat, I'm sure you all know, around 2003, Hollywood was kind of out of ideas. You've heard this spiel before, so I'll make it very condensed. Scream came along and effectively called a halt to the big franchises that had been degenerating into very low quality sequels. And then Hollywood said, that's cool. We're not going to do those anymore. We're going to pick up the meta horror angle and we'll play that for a while. And that, once you start deconstructing deconstructions, you're in trouble. The meta angle did not last long because it's kind of hard to do well. And they found themselves wondering, what do we do? And Hollywood ended up taking a few directions in horror after that whole era played out. One direction was latching on to the J horrors, the K horrors, like The Ring, The Grudge, and remaking them and going off that. That lasted them for quite a while. Then there was the sort of Eli Roth prompted torture porn direction that I know you're not a fan of. Most
No,
people
I don't like
not a
torture
fan of
porn
that.
at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just a gross spectacle that adds nothing. Like, it doesn't make me imagine anything fun. It doesn't do anything for me other than just watching it and going, "Oh, this is nasty." And I just don't enjoy torture porn.
Yeah, a lot of people not a fan of them. Very, very divisive. I'm, as you can guess, more okay with them than most. And I do have my massive cope posts to try and justify them, which have varying degrees of success. But the last one was the Platinum Dunes wave, aka the wave of remakes of classic 80s franchises. That started off nice and early with the sort of cheaper, easier to get your hands on Wes Craven properties, taking those, handing them to younger directors, less experienced directors, often foreign directors who had made something pretty successful in their own countries, and then just giving them an American budget and seeing what they could do. And that had some pretty good results, I'm going to claim. The one we referenced earlier in the start of our game was The Hills Have Eyes by Alejandro Ayar. I probably mispronounced that awfully. Maybe it was Alejandro Ayar. Anyway, really good stuff. I really liked that one. But they can be a bit hit and miss. They kind of fizzle out by about 2011. Like, by then you've had the biggest ones. You've had Rob Zombie's Halloween. You've had Nightmare 2009, I believe. You've had Nightmare on Elm Street remade and not particularly well received in 2010. And you had the Friday the 13th remake in 2009 that I really liked. And it goes a bit quiet. I mean, you kind of remade most of the things. You're getting a bit desperate at this point. So you may want to say that Evil Dead 2013 is not part of that. I'm inclined to say it is. It's part of that wave, even though it's very late to it. Most of it has come and gone by 2010, 2011. Oh, good call, actually. John Garris, yes, found footage also really took off. I mean, that was kind of going from Blair Witch, but in 1999 and before, obviously, people point to earlier ones, but yeah, they did keep that going as well. But I always felt that was a lot more sort of independent that Hollywood picked up rather than Hollywood sort of panicking and saying, I need to put something in the cinema. What can I do? Oh, actually, yes. Devonte, great point. Scream 4 2011 comes out and really does call out that whole thing. Some would say unfairly. Anyway, so, oh, sorry. This has just come in. Adam Loves Horror sending $5. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Cheers.
thank you.
That
Thank you
is
for
much.
supporting this wonderful channel.
Yeah, that's really appreciated. Yes, in the month of October, donations to a spooky appreciating channel are very, very welcome. Thank you. Your 25-minute video on torture porn made the genre a bit justifiable to me. Learned your channel 2 weeks ago. I'm obsessed. Well, thank you. And I also note and appreciate that you've got a Candyman avatar, which that wins me over. Yes. So I'm inclined to count this as part of that wave of remakes. We've got some of the hallmarks, like one, it is in late 2000s. It is a big franchise. They are working with a new director, especially a foreign director, in this case, Fede Alvarez. And most of all, something they all tended to do is I would say, in contrast to the kind of late stage sequel where it gets a bit goofy, they all tend to go super, super serious. And this absolutely does. So that's me talking a fair old while. Yizz, would you say it's fair to put Evil Dead 2013 in that trend, or do you think it's something separate?
Knowing what I do about Sam Raimi wanting to sort of invigorate an Evil Dead in the vein of how John Carpenter wanted the Halloween series to be a different take on it and a different theme each year, I would say not really, no. Obviously, there's going to be some of that because the industry is what it is. But I think that knowing what I know about Sam Raimi sort of giving the blessing to explore the space and sort of create a new take on Evil Dead, I'd say it breaks the mold a bit there. What do you think?
I think it's fair enough. I mean, if we're looking at the original, they are all quite different to each other. You know, whether it's a sort of very hard horror of the first one that caused so much legal trouble in Britain. I will not go into it, folks. I've gone over it plenty of times, but that film caused us quite a lot of bother here. To the more horror comedy angle of Evil Dead 2, to the Medieval Dead, which is like really heavy on comedy. Like the Evil Dead does get reinvented quite a lot, which makes it harder to be sort of precious about it. But
and I know that we'll get into it soon, but even though I'm not the biggest fan of the remake of Evil Dead, I will say that it's clear that the people responsible for making this movie understands what Evil Dead is and why it's good. And they used every piece of the buffalo to make this movie, so to speak. Do you know that euphemism?
No, I don't.
Okay. It's an old-timey American thing. Saying that the Native Americans, to survive, they would have to use every piece of the buffalo, all the skin, all the bones, all the everything. It's BS. It's not true. The Native Americans treated animals terribly and wasted like there was no tomorrow. But the phrase "use every piece of the buffalo" means you understand the totality of all the pieces and you use them correctly. And I feel like that is what the creation team for this movie did. They understood. They understood tone, comedy, horror, shock, filth, quick cuts, jump cuts, that kind of thing. They understood the entire of what makes Evil Dead special, and they used every piece of the buffalo in this film. And that's one of the things that I didn't like about it, as I felt like it wasn't really a movie that was like a remake of the first one. It was an entirely new movie that used pieces of all of the Evil Dead franchise shoved into one new story, which, again, we'll get into it of what I like and don't like about it, but I don't think that it is a direct spiritual remake of the first one because it's so different.
Yeah. I think there's a lot. I agree with that. I mean, there's little things that are very subtle. I don't know if you can see my mouse on this. Oh, good, you can. But like little things where they know you're probably a fan of the original, and you'll notice that they have deer antlers on the wall here. Obviously,
and like the car Mia's sitting on when she's doing her artwork, and the art pad itself. Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, the art pad itself. I'll have to ask you about that in a second. But I just thought there's a famous bit in Evil Dead 2 where there's a mounted deer head that talks and looks really creepy. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
They've got the deer antlers here, which is like, but no deer head, which is like an obvious reference to that original deer. What was it about the notepad? Because I missed that.
It's just the art pad. I mean, because one of the girls, I don't remember the names of the characters from the old original because I don't remember stuff like that very well.
We never do on this channel, Yizz.
But one of them had an art pad. Remember when the evil comes through the window and possesses her hand and she makes a rough, violent sketch of the Necronomicon on the art pad? Remember that?
Of course. I'd totally forgotten that. That's a good catch.
Well,
nice.
Thank you. I told you it's good to have me on. I'm good at this.
Well, this is precisely why. Yeah, I'd forgotten that. Well, that's a great catch.
Well, yeah, and the first time that we see Mia, when the brother, what is it, David? I forget.
I
Goes out.
think it is David. Oh, I've got a lovely shot of that. Hang on.
Yeah, was she sitting on the old Sam Raimi car?
Mm.
I don't know if that's actually the car or not. I do know that it survived for decades and they used it in a lot of movies,
Yeah.
but I don't know if that's actually it or not. I would imagine not. But
You'd be correct. It's incredibly close, but internet autists have worked out that that is not the infamous Oldsmobile, but is the version made the year after.
okay.
Which
Is it because of the difference in the headlights? Because that's what I noticed, but it doesn't matter.
I think it was about the detail on the hood.
Okay, all right. She's sitting there on this car with an art pad, and I immediately said, "Oh, hey, it's the car from the first one," and I know that it's from, since I know Sam Raimi movies, I'm like, it's been in a lot of stuff that he's been a part of. And then I was like, oh, hey, she's got an art pad like the lady from the first original Evil Dead. And watching the movie, you notice a lot of that, like the collectibles, or not the collectibles, but the bric-a-brac in the cabin. Downstairs, instead of having gourds and things hanging up, they've got the dead cats hanging up, etc. Like, it's just a lot of little things that you notice that the people crafting this movie said, hey, let's put in a lot of subtle visual things that people passionate about the series will notice. This movie's just full of that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. The sweatshirt she's wearing as well, the Michigan University sweater, classic recall to the original as well.
It was supposed to be shot in Michigan, but they said it was going to be too cold, so they came to shoot it in East Tennessee, where I live. And for those of you that don't know, just outside of Morristown, which is only about a 30 or 40-minute drive from where I grew up, is where they shot the first Evil Dead. And they came down here to shoot in a similar biome during the winter, so it would be a lot warmer. But surprise, surprise, Michigan had one of the warmest winters that it ever had that year, and Tennessee had one of the coldest winters that it ever had. So it was brutally, miserably cold the entire time they shot the first Evil Dead.
Oh, poor guys. That's rough. That's rough.
And it was a rough shoot in general. Like, people got cut and stabbed, and a cameraman tripped and fell into Bruce Campbell's face and knocked his teeth out. Like, it was just a mess. It was a nightmare getting that movie made. But Sam and Bruce were both really passionate about it, and they got it done.
Yeah, totally committed. They were happy to just trip over, hurt themselves, strapping the camera to a plank and running through the woods at high speed with it. Just bless, they were so committed, and it just makes the film adorable.
But let's not get sidetracked, because we don't want to make Super Nanny mad. We need to get back on track about the
very
remake.
True. In that case, I will decapitate and bury one aspect of the film that I find completely uninteresting, which is a discussion of whether it's a sequel or a remake. Can I firmly put my voice to I don't care?
Yeah, I don't care either, because I think it's neither. It's a little bit of both, because Sam Raimi worked with, or at least gave the blessing to, the director and writer of this film, because Sam Raimi said, if we're going to do a remake, let's make it, in the vein of Evil Dead, but, jumpstart it, give it a new theme, give it new character, etc. And perhaps even wanting to do like John Carpenter wanted originally with Halloween, maybe every few years there's a new kind of Evil Dead movie with a new twist on it, something like that. So since I know that that's what Sam Raimi wanted, it softened the blow of how much I didn't like about certain elements of this movie.
Yeah, the last thing you want is where studios are basically taking that original passion that went into a story and being like, yeah, well, we got the rights to that. We'll make some cash. So yeah, I'm so uninvested in whether it fits into the chronology or not. I'm just not going to focus on that. But let's for people who didn't do the homework, let's just go quickly over what happens in here in sort of the 1 to 2 minutes synopsis. And I think this really can be like 1 minute, because it's a very simple film.
Or do you want to do it?
Oh, please do. Yes, you always do a great job of this. So.
Oh, certainly. The plot's really simple. If you're familiar with the Evil Dead, you know that the Necronomicon is sort of a magic MacGuffin book that tells people how to summon up or make connections with or bridge the divide between the evil, horrible devil hell world and the material plane. Excuse me. And the Deadites are demonic, evil things, like whether they're demons or devils or evil spirits of dead people or whatever, it allows them to take over the bodies of both the living and the dead and make them just do horrible, decrepit, demonic shit. And that's basically the premise of what the Evil Dead is. It's not exactly zombies. It's not exactly demons. It's just a little of all of the above. And this movie, just like the original movie, is a bunch of kids go to a cabin for a getaway. This is just a different kind, which we'll get to in a minute. And during the course of the movie, they find that, oh, look, it's the Necronomicon. Oh, look, there's some evil shit going on here. And, well, this is interesting. Let's take a look at this. And, uh-oh, evil's happening. And then, evil starts to possess people, and you got to fight the possessed deadites and all that. And it just, it's basically a story of a bunch of people trapped alone in the woods. Some really mind-bending, horrible, end-of-days devil shit starts to happen. And everybody gets killed, and it's miserable, and everybody's sad. And that's basically the end of it. That's it. That's all Evil Dead was in the beginning, and that's all this movie is, really. Now, the particulars of this movie differ from the original because this movie actually has a sort of a book opening, but not a book end, where, unlike the first movie, we are shown some really demonic shit in the beginning of the movie. We are shown, a girl going through the woods, people abduct her, they take her back to a cabin, and you're like, oh no, young girl getting abducted, this is bad for her. And then you find out that she's a possessed deadite and killed her own mother, and so they got to burn her. So they burn her, and it's in the bottom of the cabin or whatever. Now, don't ask me why they would want to set a big fire in the underneath their cabin. That didn't make any sense, but whatever. So they kill her, right? And that's the cold opening. And then you find out that these two characters here, David and Mia, they're brother and sister, and they are the progeny of the family that owns this cabin. And there's like a family history here, and like they're bound here. So like that's an entire new separation from the Evil Dead story. Like it just none of that existed. Like it's completely new. And so the original Evil Dead was, a bunch of teenagers want to go get drunk and have a good private alone time out in the woods. At a cabin, just drinking and doing the whole young teenager thing. And this movie is different because they want to help this girl detox from being a heroin or a drug addict of some sort. I assume heroin, but whatever.
I have this where she's chucking it away. So
it doesn't fall like cocaine, it falls like heroin, but I don't know if that's intentional or not because movie people always get drugs wrong.
Yeah, it had a sort of darker color that made me think it probably was heroin, but yeah, there is our leading girl in the Michigan State uniform. That's Jane Levy. Jane Levy would be in Fede Alvarez's next film, Don't Breathe, and also in the Stephen King-based series Castle Rock that I tried to get through twice. I couldn't manage it, but yeah, this is her initially just taking it and pouring it down the well. I thought, yeah.
So, the difference in this one is they have two of the characters have a strong, passionate family connection to this actual cabin, to this place. And clearly we are shown from the very beginning because the opening scene is the one with the deadite possessed girl that has to be burned by the family. So we know that there's mystical, spooky, evil connection and things going on here, which is a massive departure from the blocking and the story pacing and everything from the first one. And also, they're not here to have a good time. They're here to have a bad time. They're here to imprison this girl, Mia, in this cabin and not let her leave for a week or two to force her to detox from what I presume is a heroin addiction, which that's a noble goal, but it's not going to be fun. So they're not here to have a good time. They're here to have a bad time.
Yeah, I mean, if I may, it's like the story portion of this, and I've got the extended version, the director's cut version, that's 86 minutes long. So it's a compact story. I thought that it was pretty clear.
The director's cut was 86 minutes, so I watched the director's cut. I thought that was the theatrical release.
No, by the look of it, I'm judging by like when the credits kick in. So the credits kick in for me about 86 minutes in. So that's how I judge how much story there is.
Okay, yeah. Not a lot of story to get in the way of this movie.
No, it's pretty
like old Joe Bob Briggs used to say. Not a lot of plot to get in the way of this movie.
Oh, I like that one. Yeah, I thought it was pretty obvious what they were doing at the start. You go and buy your ticket for Evil Dead 2013. You have this really strong opening, cold opening to basically establish the tone, to tell you this is what you're going to get. We're not doing it like the old one. This is how it's going to go. I'm going to try and slap the audience as hard as I can so they know what they're in for. And then the other, which, you know, I'm down with. I thought it was a smart decision. And then this lovely scene of Jane Levy pouring the poison down the well, I thought was really obvious in that it was trying to tell us that there was a stronger motivation for them to be here.
Yeah.
That's got to be what this is about.
Certainly.
And I liked that. I liked that distinction for giving them a reason to stay during the initial time when she's freaking out. But bless them, they didn't sort of ride that excuse. It would have been easy for even weirder stuff to happen and them to say, oh, it's just the old detoxing. But they only confuse.
They only ride that for like a scene or two, and then that's put to bed when they all start witnessing supernatural evil shit.
Exactly,
which is good.
Exactly.
Yeah, they didn't milk that, and that's one thing that works in this movie's favor. It doesn't waste your time, and it keeps moving. This movie flies by. It goes by really fast, and that's good because that means that the story is interesting. That there's not a lot of wasted scenes. There's not wasted dialogue. Things move quickly. Even the sort of trite, boring back and forth between some of the characters early in the first act, they don't really waste your time with a lot of details. It's just there to let you know who these characters are and give them a little sprinkle of personality, even though I didn't like any of the characters, but we can get into that later. So at this point of the synopsis, bad shit starts to happen because for whatever reason, the little soy cuck loser guy there on the left, the guy that looks like, you know, he's going to, I don't know, be a mall shooter or some shit. Like this little turd here, for whatever reason, he decides that he's going to start studying and reading the Necronomicon. Now I know that in the broader lore of Evil Dead, like if you take into account the comics and the video games and all the shit that I know about Evil Dead, there is an evil energy around the Necronomicon and certain evil relics that evil can persuade people to do things even if they aren't possessed, right? So I know that outside of the movie, there is a good reason for why he would want to rip this open and read it and do things with it. But in the movie, this comes out of left field for me. And this is one of the first things that I really didn't like in the movie. They find a whole bunch of sick, weird looking shit in the bottom of this cabin, right? And number one, well, I guess I should hold my criticisms to the end. Do you want me to criticize as I go quickly and then we can get into the details later?
No, it's all good. I think I think it's worth talking about because like there's one level that I really like this design where it's wrapped in a bin bag and it's wrapped in barbed wire, and then for some slightly weird reason, where is it? They also how can I say they made it look gorgeous. I'm struggling to find the darn thing. Got it. They also give us this Goatsenomicon.
Yeah, I know, right? I saw that too. I was like,
deliberate?
Is this a joke? Like, because when he ripped it open, I was like, this looks like the Goatsea meme. Did they do this on purpose? Because
he doesn't have the ring.
Yeah, but still. Anyway.
Chat. D if it's deliberate. A if it's accident. But let me know, chat. Let me know.
I think it's deliberate.
It's like,
I think it's too on the nose.
This is gorgeous. It looks so unbelievably good. But as you said, from the story perspective, it's more of a problem, isn't it?
Yeah, because, okay, why are they here? They're here to help this girl detox. They find a bunch of weird shit in the basement. Now, if this was a stranger's cabin or they didn't know who this was or they rented it out, that would be different. But these people are supposedly all childhood friends that know each other, right? So if you go to your childhood friend's family cabin and you find a bunch of weird ritual implements and animal carcasses and barbed wire and slaughter pits and shit in the bottom of your best friend's family cabin, there's no discussion about that. None. Like that's bizarre to me. Like there's no reaction of the friends being like, what the fuck is wrong with your family? Or maybe this explains why your mom's died in an insane asylum. Like, what happened here? That talk never happens. Nobody mentions it. And I find that to be absolutely retarded and frustrating. That's one of the first things that really slapped me in the face about this movie.
Yeah. And there's about 5 minutes of dialogue scenes that were cut out and were aired in the UK based on the French version, but I don't know if any discussion like that was in it, because if they have that discussion, presumably they would have hightailed it out of there.
I ran it back to make sure I didn't accidentally miss something, and there wasn't anything. So maybe there's a different version where that got cut. But another thing that slapped me in the face about this part is, even without all of that, why would a guy who is here, supposedly with good wishes, because the character acts and talks like, even though he's kind of a pathetic little, loser, like a soy cuck or whatever, even though he's here to supposedly help this girl, why would he want to open or engage with these weird occult implements and things that are clearly involved in bad, dark, scary things? Why would he bring them up from the basement? Like there's no scene in this movie that shows like a whispering wind coming through the window and him getting a strange look on his face, like he's become crazed or obsessed with magic power to want to open this book. That never happens. It's just some shit happens, there's some dialogue, and it cuts to him putting this book on a table and just tearing it open. And I found that just really bizarre and bad. That's one of the only truly bad things about this. Yeah, go ahead.
You've seen Cabin in the Woods, yeah?
Maybe. Refresh my memory. What is let me just look it up. Cabin in the Woods.
All right. I'll just talk while you look it up. So that is that was released the same year as this, although it was made 2 years previously. It's a Joss Whedon one.
Oh, I remember this. I didn't watch this because I want to punch Joss Whedon in the face, and I don't watch his material anymore.
No, fair enough.
I didn't like this.
It broadly begins sticking extremely close to the Evil Dead plotline. And there is a scene where, Theremin Trees has got it. Yes. There is a scene where everyone goes down into a basement, and it is full of basically evil artifacts. And each character basically gets fascinated by a different one. And it's a point about, exactly what you were talking about, how they all sort of really should leave it alone. And I just thought it must have been kind of, I don't have this memory, but in 2013, you could theoretically rent Cabin in the Woods and then Evil Dead. And I've got a feeling it would kind of hurt this film, because you'd be thinking of the critique that Cabin in the Woods made, and then see it be played very straight here. We should also note, actually, I didn't say this earlier, Fede Alvarez and I'll get the other chap's name. They're both Uruguayan. Apologies, folks. Rodo Sayegues. Apologies to Uruguayans. I've got no clue. They're obviously not working in English as their first language. So although they did the screenplay, Diablo Cody, the writer-director of Juno and Jennifer's Body, she did rewrites and basically made it sound like natural English. Okay. So just worth noting.
Sure. So we'll skip this for now. So he opens the book, and for whatever reason, he just thinks that he should start looking at the pages and figuring out the words to speak to the ether to summon devils or to summon evil. I don't know why he does it. There's nothing in the movie that shows he's becoming possessed, or he's particularly driven by occult knowledge, or he hates everyone, or he hates himself. Like, for whatever reason, I don't know, because the movie doesn't show me, but he tears this open and becomes fascinated with it and just starts turning the pages and speaking aloud these words. And it shows outside that an evil energy comes through the woods and smacks into Mia. And I thought that part was pretty cool. We'll get to the imagery. That's another problem I have with this, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, it was very powerful, really. When, I guess partly because you kind of know it's coming, but I liked it. Although I think I wouldn't want them to repeat it, but I really preferred Evil Dead 2's method of having someone play a tape recording of the reading. Yeah. I really preferred that.
Or them finding it just on like a ripped piece of parchment and then being like, does anybody recognize what this is? Like, this looks like Latin. It says, and they try to fumble through the words, just trying to figure out what it means. Like, that would have been acceptable too. But the way that it happened, it just flew all over me. But let's move on, because I don't want to harp on that for no reason. Let's just go ahead and move on. So for whatever reason, he reads the words. We see, the evil cam of it flies through the woods and it smacks into Mia. And they did a really good job with that part because you get like this 1 or 2 frames of her evil makeup face right when it hits her, bap, and like you see it, it's like with the evil contacts, and it's all like pale, and it's got the movie makeup on. You see that for just a split second when the evil hits her, so you know that the evil is in Mia now, and it shows that to the viewer. And I think that's fine. That's okay. They did that pretty well. One thing I'll say before we move on is, I don't know, like, even though I don't like how sort of forced and for no reason he's obsessed with the book, you can tell that the people really put a lot of effort into making the book look good. The book looks awesome. And they put a lot of effort into having visuals that people would notice from the other Evil Dead lore, from the comic books. Like maybe Sam Raimi even worked with them to make this prop. I don't know, but it looks really, really good.
It really does.
It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel shitty. It's not an afterthought. Like, I can feel the effort of a creative prop team and art team working on this, because I know the effort it takes to make a prop this good, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, this film is stunning. I will not hear any words against the visuals of it. It is
totally agree.
Yeah. But I think the thing will be, I think a lot of our discussion where we maybe have problems will be the sort of more under the surface stuff. Like things like, it's gorgeous and they obviously know Evil Dead. And I think the problems will be more in the story, Yeah.
So the evil hits Mia, right? And let's see, the next thing that happens is the what is it? Is it the tree root vine struggle snuggle? Is that what happens next?
That's the one. Yeah, she's invaded. Let's say she's violated by.
I think struggle snuggles is a cute way to say that. It's also YouTube friendly.
Yeah, let's go with that. Yes.
I think. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking over you. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I was just going to say it plays out a lot like the original. But not exactly. So in the original, your character, I want to say her name's Cheryl, but don't quote me, is restrained by branches, and then it's literally a root of a tree enters her. Something that was, caused a lot of problem in Britain to get this movie past censors. In this one, they're paying homage to it. She's restrained by tree branches. She sees her sort of demonic alter ego, who then vomits up a tendril that looks like half a slug, half a branch. And that sort of indicates like the evil is in the woods as well, because it blends so well with it's a nice touch. That slivers up her leg. It leaves these horrible greasy marks. It's
then it enters
so
her.
Unsettling. Yeah.
And put a pin in this, because I assumed this is when Mia died. I assumed she was dead from this point forward. So put a pin in that, and we'll talk about that later. So the evil gets into Mia. Let me check my notes. I don't think I've missed anything yet. Let's see. Let's see. So I actually typed a lot of notes for this, like 2,000 words. So let me get through this here. Okay, I covered that already. That's good. And okay, we are to the struggle snuggle portion. Okay. All right. After this, clearly, Mia is acting upset, and this is where I wondered if she was actually dead or not. I knew that the evil was fully inside her because it shows us that, but it is aforementioned in the movie by the diversity hire that she has already gone through this once, the whole detox thing, and she escaped and went back to town. So that's why they decided to not let her leave. And the said diversity hire nurse says that we have to, she'll try anything. She might even try to hurt herself to get us to take her out of here or something like that. So
there was something really interesting they did with those characters. Because like, obviously Mia is the main focus, right? But
right.
I only noticed it on this viewing, but in this little section, I can't remember her name actually, the nurse, basically everyone else is dressed in blue. or has a like blue outer garment, and she is in a like bright orange, right? Just to make you really notice her. It's like she kind of stands out already, but they really make sure you notice, and they stick her in orange.
Yeah, I noticed that too, and I don't know why they like visually tried to bring attention to that character several times in the movie. I don't. Maybe that's just an accident. I don't know, but it seems kind of purposeful. But I don't know why. Like, I don't know why.
I think it's because like her death is coming up, so you need to pay attention to that. So it's like we're going to deal with the others later. For the moment of this group of characters, pay attention to Olivia. We never remember any character names. It was Olivia. Way. Yeah, so I just noticed that was a little subtle thing they did, and I thought, okay, well done. Well done.
So she burns herself with super duper hot water, and they, I assume. Oh wait. Did I miss anything? No. She burns herself, and they want to.
Oh, there's a dog.
Oh, the dog! I forgot the dog. Right.
Yeah.
Right. The brother goes to look for the dog, finds the dog. There's a tunnel that goes under the shed, goes into the tool shed, lifts open the little trap door, finds the dog has been beaten to death with a hammer, and the hammer's all bloody. And he's like, "What the fuck?" And Mia was just outside, so I assume that he assumes that she murdered the dog with the hammer. I mean, I there's no one else there, so I assume that he thinks that. But he comes back in and finds that she's burned herself, horribly blistered and burned with super duper scalding hot water in the super hot shower.
Yeah, and these are all practical effects, and they look wonderfully disturbing.
Oh, they do. They look great. Like, I've seen horribly burned people before in person, and it's very sad. And this looks like a real burn. This looks very good. So this is when the evil brings the storm and doesn't let them escape, right? That's when this happens?
It.
Okay, yeah.
That's it. It's when they're moving through this is why you can't leg it, which you obviously want to do. They do a good job of making people want to leave and then giving them reasons why they can't that are more than, how can I say, they feel more than flimsy. Like Mia does try and leave, but then crashes the car. And then when they try and get out of there, the river literally blocks them. So I liked them actually trying to leave. That was good. But there's a certain amount of, once you hit this bit of body horror, the dog is completely forgotten.
Yeah. And so, I mean, we can sum up the rest of the movie pretty easily from this point, which is everybody gets killed one way or another. The evil jumps around and possesses bodies. And of course, you have the scene of the evil getting into the hand of the blonde lady. I don't remember her name either because she doesn't matter. And the Chekhov's meat cutter comes up, of course, because it was foreshadowed. And she uses that meat cutter to cut her left arm off because the evil is in it, but it doesn't matter because she's dead and the evil's in her anyway, as we know. So she becomes evil and really messes up soy cuck nerd guy with a nail gun. And then she gets a crowbar and just beats the crap out of him when she's a possessed evil deadite. And they eventually kill her, blows her other arm off with a shotgun, etc., etc. And eventually, presumably, the only two people left are the brother and the sister. And he and the soy cut glasses guy, they douse the whole house in gasoline and kerosene, all the flammable shit they can find, because they're going to just burn it all up. Because one of the three things that it says will dispel evil in the book is immolation by fire, dismembering, and burying alive until dead. So he hatches this crazy plan, which is absolutely ludicrous and stupid, but we're going to talk about it. So supposedly, before the house catches on fire, this is Mia standing here. But before this happens, because this is like the last 15 minutes of the movie here. Before we get to this point, everybody's dead, we think, except for Mia and the brother. The brother doesn't have the heart to kill her and cut her to pieces, so he takes her out into the yard. He puts a bag over her head, and he's going to bury her. He's going to bury her alive. But you see this weird, like, in Raimi fashion, like the quick montage hypercut thing, like when we see Ash, getting the chainsaw together or loading his shotgun and putting his gear on. You guys know what I'm talking about. The quick little equipment montage. Is there a cinematic word for that? Is it a Raimi montage? Is that the word for it?
It feels like it. It's the sort of combination of the quick cuts, but also a zoom in often.
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
know,
A quick little whoosh, 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 showing the different things that are going together to make something.
yeah,
Yeah.
Edgar
But
Wright absolutely loves it, and I think he probably
yeah.
got it from Sam Raimi.
So anyway, it shows him grabbing this battery pack and some kind of energy charge meter and duct taping a couple of really massive needles and really unnecessarily huge syringes together. I don't even know what you would use those for, but and he takes this mess with him out into the yard, and I'm like, surely this is not going to be some kind of like he's not going to summon the lightning from the sky to like try to reanimate her. Surely not. So he buries her alive, and there's some really good Deadite dialogue of her pretending of the Deadite possessed Mia, letting the real Mia voice talk and say some nice things. Then the Deadite voice says some hateful things, etc., as you would expect with Deadite language.
Yeah,
And
she is sharing the sort of last minute. She brings out this sort of deep dark family history that's so traumatic it makes him look like Ben Shapiro. And
yeah.
I'm sorry, it was just in this frame and I couldn't unsee it. But I mean, can I ask about this dialogue? Because
He looks like he's about to pause the scene here and quickly tell us about Birch Gold before we move on with the movie.
Now on to Bowl and Branch. Anyway, sorry, I will not attempt that again. But
all right, it's okay.
I wish I could do a good one anyway. But anyway,
we'll get back to that in just 1 second. But first, let me ask you: everyone is going to plots, but when you do, what are you going to leave your family with? Sorry, I listen to a lot of Shapiro because you have to know thine enemy.
There's a rhythm to it, isn't there? Like he could cut off a proposal and start telling you about Bowl and Branch. Anyway, sorry.
But anyway, so
it was just about this section when you get the sort of family history.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure. I wanted to know what you thought about it because I was torn. Is this depth? Is this a sort of kind of an out of nowhere thing that feels like a bit last minute to give details?
I think yes, and I think that I think this is wanting your movie to be all the things you discussed, and you can't fit it all in. Like you can't have the Evil Dead story plus the Evil Dead 2 story plus the Deadite action of Army of Darkness plus the Necronomicon Jeffrey Combs Reanimator. We're going to create something new and create life and use Deadite energy and dark magic to bring back my sister and stuff. You can't have all of this in the same like 80 or 90-minute movie. And so I think that at a storyboard level, the creator and the writers wanted to do more with the family connection and the trauma and the psychoses and tying all of that together. But they probably cut it for either budgetary reasons or flow reasons when storyboarding. And this didn't leave the storyboard. You see elements of this in movies all the time, where something kind of sticks out like a sore thumb a bit, even though it does make sense if you stop and think about the movie. That's usually just a product of the movie making process. That's how the sausage gets made. So there probably, before cuts were made for whatever reason, that this dialogue was either in other places, or this would have made more sense if there wasn't one or two things cut from earlier. But
you're probably right there. There were definitely some cut dialogue scenes between Mia and David, and I would like to think it was setting this stuff up, because
probably, yeah.
You know what, this feels like when you do a 3-beat thing, this feels like the payoff and we didn't have the setups.
Yeah, exactly. Like it feels like there's a missing scene where before she's possessed, they have a serious heart-to-heart, and she blames him for her drug use because she's like, you had to go and start your career, and you left me with Mom. I was the one that had to watch her fall apart. The drugs are how I coped with it, or something like that, right? Like, it feels like we're missing something between what we got earlier and this scene, as far as like character development. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. I imagined one where it's basically that, but I wanted a version where she is trying to reconnect with him, and she basically gives him the soft serve. She kind of does a sweet lie to him, and then this version, like she says, "Oh, I get why you did it. Mom and we had it hard, but she knows you loved her, etc." And then when the demon is speaking, the demon can unleash the harshest truth, which is sort of the strength of them. That's what I would have liked, but yeah, I really feel like that's where we missed a scene.
Yeah.
And so it does just, yeah, you said stick out like a sore thumb. I think it did. The acting's great. It just,
yeah.
And that's a weird, sorry, just because you made me think of it now. It's something this film does amazingly well, is set up and payoff.
Yeah, it does.
Sometimes clumsily. I'm thinking particularly of the chainsaw. Just
very.
David sees it and then scans up to the thing he's looking for. It's like, just so the audience knows a chainsaw is there. And they do this for everything they use. The nail gun, the meat carver, anything that becomes important later, they set up early on.
Yep, they're good at that. Like, you can tell this movie is crafted by professionals that cared. And the actors, even though I didn't like any single character in the whole movie, the actors all did a great job. Even the diversity hire was great. Like, all the actors in this did a great job. They brought their A game. They all acted like none of them outacted or underacted each other. They all acted like they were familiar with one another. Like, it was well written and well performed. I just have certain criticisms of the whole product.
Oh yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Sorry, I took you way off from the discussion.
That's okay. We are almost done because after the Deadite talk, trying to mind screw with him, he finishes burying her, and then waits a moment, and I literally mean a moment, like in just seconds after he's done burying her, he starts digging her back up again. And I'm like, okay, that's odd and seems sort of out of place. So he digs her back up, and there is no magic movie lightning, but as soon as he brings her back up out of the ground where he just buried her and supposedly she suffocated and died, he digs her up immediately, pulls the bag off her head, stabs those duct taped together giant needles into her heart. Like, he hits her hard with that. Like, I sort of felt bad for the actress because he pummels her in the chest with that thing, with that prop. And then it's just 2 car batteries or some shit. And he turns the juice on a switch, and he's shocking her heart, presumably with these giant medical needles jabbed into her heart. And I'm like, that's not how defibrillation works. That's not how this works. That's just death. That's just killing her.
He's a dude who watched one tutorial on TikTok and is like, I can do it.
And like, so he tries this 3 or 4 times, and I'm like, well, obviously she's dead. If she's going to move again at all, she's just going to be possessed by a deadite because he didn't leave her in the ground. But no, he turns around sad, and then she's just standing there like she's fine. She's just fine.
Oh, she's totally healed as well.
And she's healed. There's no wounds. There's no cuts. There's no burns. And I'm just like, what the hell happened? Like, I thought it might be an illusion. I thought it might be a devil playing a mind trick on the brother. But no, whatever happened, whatever this weird book magic is of bury them alive, apparently she's fine after getting stabbed in the heart and shocked by car batteries. She stands up and all of her wounds are magically healed. That flew all over me too, and I don't understand why they did that, but let's move on. She's fine.
The brother goes in. It's magical. I think it really is magical. I think we've had the dark side of it, and this is the magical resurrection working. Like, because
I guess so.
It totally heals her because she had just sliced her tongue in half. So
and don't forget the horrific burns over half of her body. She'd been beaten and raped. I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to say that word on YouTube. She'd been snuggled violently by briar vines and tree roots, and beaten and smashed and kicked by deadites and like all kinds of stuff. But her body's fine. Like, she's completely fine. So clearly it's like some kind of weird magic resurrection thing or whatever. And so basically at the end, here's the fiery house. She and the brother go into the house for whatever reason. I think they're going to burn it down or whatever and then get out of there. And of course, since he didn't dismember the body, soy cut glasses guy, the guy who started all this, his body is reanimated and messes up the brother real bad. And so the brother tells the daughter, get out of here, I'll handle this or whatever, and slams the cabin door in her face and lights the cabin on fire with him inside of it. And he's dead. So then the end of the movie is Now we're going to get to the particulars, and I have a lot to say about this, Chloe. So just don't,
Mhm.
just wait. The end of the movie is basically this. I have criticisms with it, which I'll get to, but evil Mia is now a different entity, which I have not seen before in any Evil Dead. Apparently, it's an Evil Dead clone, or the evil left her, but it's still her. So she has like an extremely schlocky, over the top, like no holds barred cage match with the evil Deadite duplicate of her, and she fights her clone for like 5 or 6 minutes. She has the chainsaw. She's struggling to try to get it turned on. The thing's attacking her with a machete and stabbing her through the wall of the cabin. She breaks the wall. She gets out. She gets to the Jeep. The thing smashes through the window and grabs her. She gets out. She's still got the chainsaw, and apparently her clone evil Deadite double has super strength and flips the Jeep over with one hand. I don't know why, but the Jeep rolls over and
It's
hilarious.
YouTube years. I can't show much.
So anyway, the Jeep rolls over and lands on her left hand right at the wrist, and she has basically almost severs it, and she has to, in extremely gory fashion, rip the rest of her left hand off. So now she's missing a hand like Ash, and she gets the chainsaw on and stabs it into evil Mia's face after. Though the reason why the Jeep got flipped is underneath the Jeep, she saws off one of the lower legs of her evil clone. And so that's why the clone is on the ground in this picture. She shoves the chainsaw into its face, cuts its head and upper torso in half, and the rain starts to fall, and this evil clone turns into bubbling, boiling blood as it sinks down into the earth in a very beautifully executed practical effect, which we can't show on YouTube because it's filthy. And then Mia looks around, and the sky is red. The evil hell rain is falling, like they have completed the prophecy in the book to resurrect, quote, him, or the Dark One, or whatever the hell they called it. So the end of the movie is, oh shit, I forgot how does it end?
They were going to do the classic one where suddenly she's attacked again, but instead she just walks off.
That's it. That's right.
Yeah.
I remembered I didn't care for it, but I didn't make a note about it. So she just sort of walks off, and that's the end of the movie. And now can we talk about criticisms? Because I have many.
Oh, that's right.
Especially about the third act.
I just need to get one thing in there. So Johnny Recaps Movies got it. The clone is the abomination mentioned in the Necronomicon. So
yeah, we're going to talk about that because I have a lot of the pages of the Necronomicon to talk about and why I don't like what they did.
Yeah, so they'd set that up. Also, the other thing it's obviously doing is because one of the themes they're trying to bring in is Mia is an addict. So they play with some addiction themes and the idea that if you're an addict, you've got the dark side of yourself, your shadow self, your worst impulses, and you have to literally battle yourself.
Yeah.
So, it's quite neat. It's something that they did, and this will be, I think, relevant to the pages, is I felt in this one, they tried to nail down the rules a bit more, which could be good, could be bad, but I felt they tried to inject a bit more predictable logic into how the Necronomicon, and the Deadites work. And
I hate that about modern movies, by the way. I hate how everything has to have this stupid, like, scientific backstory explanation. I hate that. I loathe that about modern film. I hate it, and it needs to die in a fire. I hate it. I hate how things need to be explained in a way that idiots in the back of the class can understand the why. Like, I really hate that. Like, I like movies having mystery and being clever and you having to put things together. This movie did some of that, like with the pictures in the book telling the story about how, if you pay attention to like the victim and the sacrifice stuff and the creature coming back up out of the earth and all of that, though the pictures in the book show things that are happening in the movie, show different iterations of Mia, show what's going to happen when the dead, after the words are spoken and 5 souls are claimed by his name, he's brought back and the end comes, or whatever, however it's phrased in the book. I don't remember because I don't care. But let me go back in my notes. There are some things that happened earlier we need to talk about, but I want to get all of my criticisms out before.
Please, yeah, go ahead.
Because there's a lot to like about this movie, and I don't hate it, but I want to get out the things that bothered me about it first. So,
I like the observation that you did that this is more of a modern thing to just like handhold the audience. But please, you carry on.
So let's see. One of the things I don't like that a lot of modern movies do is the characters are unlikable. I understand that in modern film, they do this to try to make characters seem like normal people. And I think that's stupid. Because I don't want to see normal everyday things I see in normal everyday life if I pay $10 or $20 to see a movie. You know, and normal everyday regular people are fine if that's not everyone in your movie. Now, I don't like it because by the time you get to the second act and the second act is going, none of your characters in this movie are likable. Like they're all good actors. Don't get me wrong. This is not a criticism of the acting. It's a criticism of the conception and the writing. Because you've got bitchy, fake tough, fake smart, diversity hire nurse. You've got soy cup loser that his petty, spiteful mutant nature is obvious. Especially because when he talks to the brother, he the brother is the most likable character, and he's just kind of an empty template everyman. Like, he's single, he's got a job he doesn't like, he works really hard because he has to, and he's got a sister in the family that had problems, so he moved away from him, but he still cares, so he came back when they really needed him. That's like the most likable character in the film, and that's just the bare minimum of being a good character, right? That you actually like. And then the sister is a weak-willed junkie fuck-up, so is inherently unsympathetic. And then I can't even describe the blonde because she's just a vacuous nothing. So it's
she's not much of a character. She gets a sort of snarky, I'm a doctor, and then they don't really do anything else with her.
Yeah, is she a doctor of what? Like, we don't know. Like, she's clearly not a medical doctor.
She also, she never does any doctoring.
No.
Like, she probably should have, tried to outrank the nurse. But she didn't.
That's what made me think she's maybe a doctor of anthropology or some shit, because she doesn't act very medically at all. And also, to be a medical doctor, you got to be older than she is. Because she looks pretty damn young. And to be a medical doctor, even if you rush it, and even if you have wealthy parents, usually the fastest you could be an actual MD is 28 or 30. And this woman looked like 23. So anyway. So none of the characters are likable. And I understand that's a product of modern film. I just hate it. Because if everyone in your movie, if the best, most likable character is just a barely likable John T. everyman, then I'm not invested in your characters, and I don't give a shit what happens to them, and that really takes me out of the movie.
Can I hop on that quickly? So in the discussion I had with Harry, I don't know when it's going to come out, but we were talking about this kind of thing about the modern thing. We talked about the Skins and Euphoria and those shows and how they kind of create the idea that basically everyone's miserable, everyone's doing drugs, everyone's doing 15-year-olds are going out snorting interesting substances and trying a rusty trombone out, and that's just what everyone is doing. And we're like, this is a really toxic thing to put out as normal. And even if the show tries to say, oh, we're not praising that stuff, but the real problem I find is it's putting the idea in people's head oh, everyone's doing this. This is what the average teenager is doing. And I think it's a very modern thing. And having a movie where basically everyone is unlikable, it's this weird modern predisposition to try and show how to think you won't connect to a nice character, like we didn't connect to Nancy in A Nightmare on Elm Street. No, we loved her.
We loved Nancy. Sydney. She was great. Yeah. And so I think that making characters nice and heroic, at least like a realistic heroic, like a good Samaritan, that inherently makes people warm to the characters and react more severely when bad things happen to characters that you like. So anyway, let's move on, because I've been negative enough with that part.
Oh,
I'm almost done with my criticisms.
That's okay. I'll just flash this up. Adam, it looks like the criticisms. Okay. Also, Yizz was loving the visuals. Come on.
And also, I'd like to point out, Adam, more than half my notes about this are positive. That's why I want to get the negative out of the way. So,
Adam, we're cruel to be kind on this channel, but thank you very much for the $2 super chat. It's much appreciated.
And just so you know, this is a movie I would recommend to people who like Evil Dead stuff. Like, I like this movie. I just have problems with it, and I wanted to get those out of the way before we talk about the good stuff. So we're almost done with the bad stuff. I had to pause the movie and laugh with my husband at the stupid battery defibrillator thing. Like that came at such an important emotional moment in the movie, but was so laughably retarded that I feel like it just destroyed all the emotional energy of the entire scene in the third act. It was just laughably stupid, and I hated that part. But anyway, so moving on, let's see. We already talked about how her just being okay was really weird. I didn't like that. And then now we're getting to the very end, and I did not like the tone at the end. Okay. Now, I understand that they are creating a new Evil Dead. I get that. But when you present to me someone who is a tortured fuck up of a person, who has a psycho mother with degenerating mental problems she had to take care of, she has a crippling heroin or some other strong drug addiction, she has flunked out of rehab multiple times, and she's just a nothing, right? Well, it's very hard for me to believe that that person is somehow special. And the end of the movie, the tone entirely changes to be like Ash versus the Evil Dead show on Netflix, with all the action and the music and her just manning up and like becoming the new Ash at the very end. It felt entirely tone opposite to what the rest of the film had been for that character. Like, I thought it was terrible. I'm not opposed to there being a female protag or a female Ash. That's okay if handled correctly. But this character, really? She's shown to be just this feckless, crippled, low willpower, low intellect victim weakling the whole movie. Why is she like magic super Ash now in the final scene? Like, nothing in the book, nothing in the pages, nothing in the movie previously told me that she was going to become a savior or she was going to be the next Ash. Nothing said that. I had to pull from all the outside material that exists for Evil Dead to square that circle in my head watching the end of this. And I thought that was absolutely terrible. And expecting it, I fast-forwarded it through the credits just to see if there was a stinger, and there was, and it was just Ash saying groovy, and I said, ugh. Literally out loud, I said, ugh, whenever that happened. This movie stinks of remake cancer. It has a lot of problems. It has problems with tone, and all of the things that we've talked about that are the negatives, we can now put to bed and talk about positives, unless there's some negatives that I brought up you want to discuss before we talk about the things that make this movie really good.
Let's have a think. I'd say possibly it reaches heights of gore that make it a bit hard to believe you're talking about real humans here. So, but I'm mostly thinking of the scene where the doctor is reanimated and comes back and is just whacking people on the head with a crowbar. That was a point in the film for me when the gore level and the violence level went so over the top that it took me out of it a bit, even though I felt that acting was really doing a very good job of selling it. There's a bit in the film we're covering next, À l'intérieur, where a similar thing where someone has the violence level turned up so much it's almost like they're not human. And it feels like very excessive. And I got a similar vibe from this, particularly in that scene with the nail gun. I think I was feeling desensitized to it because it was such an extreme level. Like in this bit where you're having the chainsaw death, which is an amazing payoff. The thing that I had the biggest reaction to.
I just kept feeling like this should be the brother. Because it just, the tone is all wrong. This should have been the brother. I don't know.
I suppose he got to sacrifice. But the thing that affected me most was when she's stabbed through the wall and the knife gets in the knee and drags
Oh
out.
yeah,
That
that was a
made
good
me
one.
wince, and I've seen this
Me
movie
too.
5
I went,
times.
ooh, because I've been sliced on the knee before, and man, it
Oh,
hurts. Yeah.
that's the thing.
Oh,
You can imagine that brought you
yeah.
back into it.
Yeah.
I was also going to say that I haven't done a massive reach yet, so I'll just get this in quickly while we're doing the complaints. You talked about how Mia becomes the female Ash. She mans
Yeah.
up, right? She girl bosses up.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't want to cheapen it. No,
Oh,
no,
okay.
it's better than that. Don't do that.
Okay,
This is not a Mary Sue thing. I just
Oh no.
tonally, I thought it was inappropriate. But please go ahead. I cut you off. Go ahead.
It's just a little thing, and this could be a reach. But when she's under the car and she's using the chainsaw,
Mhm.
I maybe have read too much Men, Women, and Chainsaws, the feminist analysis of horror book.
Oh, geez.
But she's kind of like she's holding the chainsaw down between her legs in a kind of
Mhm.
phallic maneuver, and she's kind of like jacking the chain. And
Well,
I was
how
like,
else would you
oh,
start a chainsaw? Those things aren't easy. Like
I'll
you got to
try
crank
and
it hard. Like,
I'll try and keep some distance from it, but I just thought, oh, that's a little weird, the way it's pointing there. Okay, odd. A little phallic, but okay, maybe I'm a weirdo. But then afterwards, when the abomination is dispatched, the way its corpse goes into the ground had a certain vibe to it, I'm just going to say. And if you were so inclined, if you were desperate to reach, you could try and make a phallic energy, yonic energy thing. I'm not that desperate to. I'm not that. Look, I've got to get one reach in per movie. You know, it's my thing.
are you done with your reach around? Because we can continue.
That's pretty much all I had. Oh yeah. The only other thing was on the issue of the logic and trying to give a real logic to this, which in some way I admire because they didn't spell it out, but there's a little vibe that you can see when someone gets infected by the Deadites. It is like an infection. Like Mia vomits on them. Like she vomits on the nurse first, and then the nurse goes, and then she bites the doctor, and then the doctor's hand clearly gets infected from there.
Mhm.
You got the logic that there was a way they could avoid being taken, which I kind of liked, but on the other hand, Evil Dead is all about that Lovecraftian idea of you are literally bloody powerless.
Yep.
If this thing wants to take you, it will take you at any moment, and it is literally not just killing you all now because it's completely evil and it wants to torment you forever.
Yes.
Like that's it. It's just pure sick energy. That's why it's not being logical and just getting its victory. It is a demon that wants to cause suffering.
Mhm.
So I'm sort of split on it. I like that it wasn't hugely spelled out in the movie, but at the same time, I do recognize it's a bit of a move away from the real Evil Dead logic.
It is, but they did want to sort of do something new and different, which I like. And like I said, I'm okay with like a female Ash. Like I like female heroes if they're presented cool. Like this is fine. They don't all have to be like the what's the. I don't want to talk about it. It makes me mad. But
it was that idea of why is she suddenly after everything she's gone for?
That was weird.
Fair. That's fair.
And so now I thought that maybe there was something I missed in the pages of the book, because I paused it a few times to look at the book pictures, because the pictures in the book, as Dude Bro, the soy cut guy, was flipping through them, you could tell that it was sort of foreshadowing what the things were in the movie and why they were going on. So I have two questions about that maybe you can answer. Is there anything in the book that dictates her needing to be put into a red dress? Because before she's buried, her brother puts her into this red dress, and I hadn't seen that dress the entire movie. Did I miss it? Is that like an important dress to the family? Why did he put her in that red dress before burying her? Like, I have no idea why that happened. Can you tell me?
The only thing I got was after the incident with the scalding, he tries to convince her to get changed. So he's already thinking about neatening her up, but I don't think the dress itself is special. It's just that he's kind of torn. He wants to bury her in a nice way, so he puts her in nicer clothes just in case it doesn't work. but also it's visually it's a bit powerful. But there was a bit of story logic to it, a bit of sentimentality.
Okay, well, I didn't get it because it just seemed odd, but okay. So let's talk about the pages then. So one of the things I really like about this movie, we already talked about how awesome the book is. I like how it showed, this, whoever this is cutting their face off, and then the non-white nurse lady was in the process of sawing her face off with a bit of glass when Guy found her, and then crushed her head with the broken piece of porcelain. Very good stuff. Also in the book, you've got the abomination or the recreation or whatever it is coming up out of the ground. I like that. It foreshadows that the soil and the trees can harbor the evil essence, and like coming up from the ground is like, a very old trope of that's where the evil or the undead come from, is up out of the ground. Like, it's good. It's good stuff. And the one of the things in the book, I'm glad that I don't think any of the characters say it out loud. You just have to look at it. You have to read the context clues and I thought a good way, like a sort of middle ground between only for the clever audience and only for the dumb kids. A good middle ground was a single throwaway line of dialogue about some of it has been translated. And that kind of explains why a bunch of big red letters have been scrawled in easy to read bold print on a bunch of the pages. And like that's a pretty good middle ground between make everything obtuse and you have to be clever to figure it out, and we're just going to spell it out for you. I thought that was pretty clever. I thought that was a good presentation. I respected the people for doing that because it gives a little bit to each part of the audience, and it lets everybody sort of meet in the middle and know what's going on. It lets the clever people learn more, and the dumb people sort of keep up with what's going on and why. So I like that. I thought that was good.
Yeah,
so
let's just be thankful. Like there was no, you can imagine the scene, can't you? They probably wrote it and then decided against it, where like maybe the doctor says, I just don't get it. What the heck's going on, Eric? And Eric would wave his book and say, look, I read it in this book. This happened. And it says
it lays it all out here. And then he explains it to the audience. I hate that. Yeah, I'm glad they didn't do that.
Are you saying that the things in the book are going to happen to us, Eric? we have seen that scene so many times.
Oh, I know.
And they didn't do it. Thank you. Thank you for not doing that scene.
So... thank you, Theremin Trees. Let's keep talking about the pictures in the book and the things that I like. I like how at the end, when things are sort of culminating and she has the fight with her evil doppelganger, or I don't remember. Does the book call it something? Is it the abomination or the created?
I saw the abomination.
Is it the abomination? Okay, I thought it named it something. So not only is that foreshadowed, but remember in the book, it says to bring about him, or to bring him and his glory, or bring the dark one from the other side, or something like end of days prophetic. It says the book and the practitioners must sacrifice him or give him 5 souls or something like that. Well, a clever person counting, when the brother David lights the house on fire, he is only the 4th kill, unless you count Mia. But Mia is clearly in possession of her mortal soul. So I think that the first soul killed was the mother that the Deadite killed in the opening scene. And this has been a continuation all of those years. The evil has been awake all this time, just waiting to get its 5 souls at this property where the ritual was started. And so the 4 kids that got killed, or the 4 that weren't Mia, and then the mother from the opening, that's 5. And the end of days happens. So one could make an argument that maybe it's the soul of the dog. Maybe it's the soul of Mia. That's why Mia is like a resurrected Jesus figure. Maybe that's why she's the new Ash, is her soul was taken, but then maybe the gods or the forces of good blessed it and put it back in her body because of her brother's noble sacrifice. So she's going to be the new Ash that fights against the evil dead Armageddon in the next movie or something. Like that would be cool. But there's a lot of really good building blocks of where you could go from this story. Even though I don't particularly like the tone of this movie and think it's kind of a mess in some places, it's full of a lot of really good things, and I enjoyed watching it. And that's what matters most with a movie is, did you have fun watching it? Like, did you get what you wanted when you paid your dollars and set your butt in the seat? Did you get what you wanted? And for the most part, I got what I wanted out of this. It was almost no anti-white pause, almost no girl boss crap. There was like no romance, no sex, no weird pushing LGBT crap. It was basically free of all of that. And we also got tons of really excellent Raimi-esque visuals, really good gore, really good practical effects. Like, they really nailed what it feels like to watch the first 3 Evil Dead movies. They really nailed it and captured it perfectly. What do you think about that? Do you agree?
Oh, I love all of that. Massively agree. I mean, something of everything I've got, every visual I've got is just gorgeous. This is a gorgeous film. They really know how to do, like, the creative angles of filmmaking. That is already very Raimi. Even with this janky camera, he knew where to put it to get something innovative, get you an angle you hadn't seen before, and just really enliven the scene. You picked up on the 5 souls thing. That has caused so many headaches for the community.
Really?
Yeah, and that I can confirm. I looked into this. This is a result of them cutting the movie.
Oh,
There was meant to be a tiny bit where, just as he shoots the gasoline to burn the house down, you're meant to see that David gets possessed. Like, his eyes were meant to go. So he was meant to be the 5th soul, but they cut it and decided he just goes out a hero.
Okay,
But
all right.
luckily, the cold
even
open,
still, I counted him in my number. Should I not have done that? Like, I assumed that him dying there was enough to count as one of them.
No, I think it's meant to be that basically there's a lot of debate over it. So if you want to look into the fandoms, they argue over it a lot. But I'm very happy with the idea that the evil got sort of sabotaged in the cold open, and then was waiting for another 4 souls. That's the interpretation I like to take.
That's did you have that one before I said it?
Yeah, that's how I read it. So, because they make a big deal over it, and it's
I thought about it, and that was the only thing I could come to as well, is the mother counted as the first one.
That opening as well, it also gets us an interesting bit of something I thought they did really well. I realize this is totally subjective. People may disagree with me. You might not go for it, but the opening gave us the demons saying absolutely horrible things. In Evil Dead 2 specifically, you get the "I'll swallow your soul" thing.
Yeah, this was pretty good. I actually have the quote in my notes that I thought was really good. "I can smell your filthy soul. Kiss me, you dirty cunt." That's what she says. Yeah.
We're usually such a family-friendly stream.
Oh,
don't worry.
I'm sorry.
You're the first person to drop a C-bomb on the channel.
Oh, I was just, no, it's a quote from the movie, though. Like, I didn't.
It is. You're quoting a movie.
I'm quoting the material. Right. I would never say such things.
No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
But no, that kind of talk definitely comes from Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
Like that kind of sort of hamming it up. I'm a really evil bad guy, and I'm going to speak filth to you like it's The Exorcist. Like that doesn't really start until Evil Dead 2: Deadites.
Yeah. I thought this was meant to look a bit Exorcist, a little bit Pazuzu, you know?
Yes, definitely. I see that too, especially in The Exorcist 2. You see this kind of eye and look in The Exorcist 2 as well.
Yeah, so I like that, but I didn't like that line as much. I can smell, that one. The one that hit me, and I think that still hits me, I still find it really unnerving, because they do this 100% sincere. They do aim to shock you. And it's this line that she fires at David, which, chat, I'm going to have to YouTube this in my own way.
About your mother?
Yeah. Oh, no, the sister. She looks him dead in the eye because he's concerned about it. And she says, your little sister's getting vergewaltigt in hell. And I was
snuggled.
Struggle snuggled in hell. I was like, that is horrible.
Yeah.
And it landed so well. Like we've got this extreme hard 18, hard R-rated effects here. But the fact that they also managed to land a concept like that that really hit, that was, I thought, genuinely shocking.
The Deadite dialogue is surprisingly gripping and foul, even in 2023. Like, it's some of the things that the Deadite says to David is really, really nasty, really dark.
Yeah, and I also noticed on this one, for that line specifically, like, she's been doing Deadite smack talk and it's been pretty nasty, but it's just for this one about the little sister. In that line only, they let a little more of Jane Levy's voice in, and they take the effects down so it sounded vulnerable.
Oh yeah, it's good
and
stuff.
That really disturbed me. I found that so horrible. Yeah, that was grim. I mean, that affects me more than the fact that she licked a razor blade and cut her tongue in half. I noticed a lot of the chat found this really effective as well. So yeah, I'm glad you guys like that as well. This was good. This was, I just absolutely love that there was no irony in this, that they had the confidence to play this 100% straight.
Yeah,
and
it's good stuff.
Risk looking silly. It is a challenge, but they went 100% out there, and I think they sold it so well.
Praise that I can give to the film is it feels like a Sam Raimi Evil Dead movie. And I think that was on purpose, obviously, and they didn't screw that up. Like, it has a little bit of stink on it that I don't like. Like, for example, in the opening, they made the cabin and where it was look too idyllic, too beautiful, too rustic. They made it look almost like storybook fairy tale-esque, of like this beautiful magical glade covered in like beautiful green moss, and the cabin was like perfect and idyllic. To me, that is not at all what the original Evil Dead cabin was. The original Evil Dead cabin was this tiny little shack in the middle of nowhere that looks scary. Like, it looks like a place you would take someone to struggle, snuggle, and disappear. Like, it's scary looking. And it's in the middle of the woods, and it doesn't look idyllic at all. So I thought that was not very Evil Dead-esque. But the rest of the movie is. Like, the way everything sounds, the way everything looks, the fast, scary, jarring nature of the violence is brutal and swift, and it's delivered with the correct music stings, the correct Foley, the correct blood, the correct practical effects. Like, it all lands like a real Evil Dead movie that Sam Raimi would approve of, pretty much beginning to end. And I think that's saying a lot for a remake, because pretty much no remake is any good at all. But this one actually seems to be, in a way, completely loyal to the original 3 Sam Raimi movies. It just sort of borrows from all 3 of them into one movie.
Definitely.
What do you think about that?
I think that's a very good description. I was going to say, in that sense, it reminded me a lot of the Friday the 13th remake. Like, it's more obvious in that one, where they basically do a best of the whole series. So whereas,
I don't think I've seen that one. Is that the one that came out in the teens?
Yeah, 2009.
Oh, okay.
And that
No,
one,
I don't think I've seen that one.
Oh, okay. I rate it. I do rate it. It's like, in the series, it was very organic, and Jason, doesn't get his mask until part 3. Friday the 13th, 2009 basically just takes all the stuff that works. Although there's a little bit of like 2000s, like MTV politics in it, but not poisonous like you get today, but there's a little bit in. Okay, there's quite a lot in there, but it's mercifully mild compared to today. So the other thing I really liked, the only joke I feel they allowed themselves was in this scene between Eric and David, where they first get the plan to follow the book and kill Mia, and David is saying to Eric, like, are you sure it's going to work? And Eric just flips out and says, no, I'm not sure. It's a magic book. It's the one joke they allowed, and it was a good one.
And it was a good one. Yeah, it was a good one.
Bless
and
him.
this unfortunately, this is also the scene where is his name Eric? Is that guy's name? The soy guy. It's also the scene where he he lets his spiteful mutant nature lash out at David, even though it's completely inappropriate. And like I understand why modern writers do this. They want to make the characters seem realistic and believable. I just hate how like they have to give in these little negative, bitchy, hollow, spiteful mutant traits to like every character in every movie these days. I hate that. That's just a personal pet peeve of mine. I'm sure to a lot of viewers that doesn't matter at all. It to me it does. But again, all the actors in the film, excellent. They all do a great job. Even the diversity hire, she was great. She was fantastic. Like all the actors in this are
committed.
Great.
They're all committed.
They do a great job.
This would have, with all the practical effects, this would have been such a difficult shoot.
Oh yeah,
and so absolute kudos to them all. I mean, in terms of rounding it off, it adds new flavor. Yes, does it basically do what all of the 2000s Platinum June Wave remakes did in just go super serious? Yes, but it does it better than anything, and like it's hard to judge it just as part of a trend. Like I am very forgiving of, how can I say? I'm very forgiving of the Friday the 13th series. 7 episodes in, even if they're doing stuff they did before, if they're doing it better, I'm quite forgiving of it. And so, yeah, that's fine. I know you did it.
Same way with Nightmare on Elm Street. I feel like that they got better a few movies in as well.
Absolutely. Number 3. There's the gold.
3 is a gold mine. Yeah.
Oh,
I love that one.
It's for me. It's
and just so everybody here knows, Freddy Krueger is my favorite on-screen villain of all time in anything. I love Freddy Krueger. He hams it up perfectly. Robert Englund does an amazing job. He makes an absolutely irredeemable child murdering struggle snuggler someone you're excited to see and laugh at. Like he does an amazing job with that horribly evil, vile character. And his puns, his one-liners, his irony, he leans into it like he's cutting a WWE promo, but it's in a horror movie. And like no one else in history can really pull that off well except that character and that actor. It's amazing. Like I love Freddy Krueger. But anyway, sorry.
No, it's all good. It's good. The Henry was pulled out. Yeah, it took 70 days at night to shoot. Yeah, it was a tough shoot. It was a tough shoot. So absolute kudos to them. And the success may have even slightly spited the director. He did so well off this. He got to make the next movie that he wanted to do, which was, I think, a very good movie called Don't Breathe. Jane Levy is back in it. I would highly recommend it. It's an interesting premise, even though I don't really like that your heroes are burglars trying to rob a blind man. But don't worry too much about that. It's a really good horror. It's so effective. Anyway, he made that and got sorry, I'm messing up. He made that. He got a load more praise for his original film, Don't Breathe. And then he was asking people, what do you want me to do next? Don't Breathe 2 or Evil Dead 2? And it was like 80% Evil Dead 2. So, and he was I really wanted to, I'm just going to do Don't Breathe 2, okay? I'm just going to do that. Bless him.
But no, he definitely seems like a talented guy. Definitely. Oh, thank you. It's Inria showering people with.
I was just going to say, I've seen an amazing Halloween gift come early from the Inria. Thank you so much. 20 memberships, you absolute star. Thank you so much, Inria.
What a champ.
Yeah, folks, if you have just received a membership, you drop a little thanks. You drop a thanks for the NREB. Oh, brilliant. Right. I know I said I was going to drop it last week, but I will definitely drop you a little exclusive. I'll drop you it tomorrow. Yes, did you get? Yes, you've got one.
Yeah, I did. Mm-hmm.
If you didn't get it, I'll send you a link. It's one of my sillier videos.
But I'm a backer of yours on Subscribestar, so even without the YouTube membership, I still get to see your premium content anyway. So
exactly. Brilliant. Well, massive thanks again, the NREB. Very much appreciated. Folks, if you just got that, I'll say there is a load of exclusive content and exclusive streams on both YouTube and Subscribestar, which you can look at. So go and investigate that stuff. It's building up now. There's quite a lot on there, and there's more to come. All right.
So Do you want me to continue on with things I really like about this
Oh,
movie?
please, yeah.
Or
Get
is there
the
a
praise.
direction you
Get
were
the-
taking the conversation?
No,
Because
get the
if there's
praise.
something you want to move to, we can. I'm basically out, other than just scene by scene stuff.
I was going to say, now that it's past 10, I'll probably start closing off towards Super
Sure.
Nanny. So if there's
Okay.
some really important stuff, absolutely let me know.
Nothing really important, but I want people to know the reason why I'm adamant about my criticisms is to let people know why I have criticisms and why I don't just nod my head and say, "Oh, this is a great movie," and just accept it. There are things that I don't like about the trend movies have taken. There are things I don't like about remakes and reboots that I wanted to voice today. There are also things that I don't like about odd tonal and structural problems within this specific movie that we've already covered. But I wanted to get those out because there's a lot of things I wanted to talk about that I do like. The things that I like, the violence we already went over, the blood, the gore is great. One of the things that I appreciated this movie doing was when the non-white nurse, when she gets possessed, she pisses herself. Now, you don't see a lot in movies these days, especially on a non-white, because you know how Hollywood do. So
Total Exorcist moment.
yeah, total Exorcist horror movie possession moment of like people pissing and crapping themselves. Like I'm kind of surprised this movie went there, and I'm glad they did. So I just thought that was interesting. I liked it. And I liked how visceral and gross and disgusting the violence is, because that's not only in the vein of Sam Raimi movies, but it's in the vein of really good effective horror. Is your violence really has to land and be believable in some way to the viewer's conscious or subconscious to really land. And I think this movie did a great job of that time and time and time again.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it landed the small moments of pain as well. Like, again, I'm thinking of the knife in the knee.
Yeah.
It
And
was
like
able to
and
sell
the brother
that as
pulling
well.
the nails out of his arm and leg. Oh man.
You know, I really felt it when Eric there, little soy guy, when he's catching the nails in his chest, I thought,
Oh no. Yeah. Oof.
that was so visceral. I just thought he sold it brilliantly. What would you say hit you the hardest from all the violence? Can I ask?
That's a good question. What hit me the hardest? Probably watching the blonde lady saw her own arm off, or or Mia ripping her own hand off. Like bodily limb avulsions really bother me, because one of my fears that is a lizard brain subconscious fear I have in real life is I don't want to be missing any of my important parts. Like I am afraid of losing hands, arms, legs, eyes, etc. For some reason, I'm so athletic in life. Like I'm in my 40s. I still run. I swim in lakes. I climb trees. I go hunting. Like I'm a very active, visceral person. I have great eyesight. I like to read. I like to paint. I like to draw. I like to go fishing. I like to go hunting. I like to target shoot. I like to go camping. I like to climb trees just for the joy of climbing trees. I like to walk. I like to hike. So missing body parts, whether they be sensory or locomotion, I'm afraid of that, because I would feel like I lose what it means to be alive. And it's the same reason that I fear getting old. I fear dementia, because I fear losing my mental faculties like I fear losing my physical faculties. And so watching people in movies, like torture porn movies, like Saw, having to rip their own body parts out or blind themselves, things like that, that really grips me deep in what makes me the most afraid about real life. And so that's the things that really bother me. So I don't like that kind of stuff on a visceral, personal level. And so that's why there. And it's one of the reasons I don't like torture porn, is because I don't like watching on screen and being reminded of the mortality I face in real life and my deepest, darkest worries and fears about age and body damage. That really bothers me and disturbs me in a way that I don't get anything from. It just makes me feel sick and off kilter for several days after I watch it. And I don't really get anything positive from it. That's why I don't like torture porn movies like Saw and stuff, because they just disturb me and I don't get anything that I like from it.
That was an amazing answer.
Oh, well.
That was amazing. Sorry, I'm just a
Okay.
bit stunned. I love that. That's that understanding of how horror can just sort of affect you and just sort of sometimes it can
And
just touch your
like we
nerve
talked
too
about 2
much.
years
Yeah.
ago when I had you on my channel to talk about that wonderful Dracula movie, we talked about that's why horror grips people in ways other movies don't. Because it makes them face mortality, darkness, subconscious fears that guide their lies and guides their love. Like that's why horror can reach you and affect you in ways other types of stories can't.
Yeah. You made me think of last week's discussion of Eden Lake. Like that's a film where basically middle class people just as poncy as I am, right? They go to a group of youths who are just like British chavs, right? And trying to be reasonable to them and failing. And I just like that scene unsettled me so much because of all the suppressed violence under the surface and like the middle class guy just trying to be Mr. Reasonable and just not getting it, not getting the situation. Like that felt so realistic, so relatable. That totally disturbed me. Like before the violence kicks off, just that scene was so tense. It's like, I've seen that. It's that feeling of society crumbling. You aren't able to do your usual mode. You can't reason what you're going to do. You know, it felt like a fear that is going to be a real situation or could be a real situation soon. So that's why I found it so disturbing. But yeah, it's great to be able to articulate it, I think. So in terms of other praise, I don't know. I think it's solid. I think it's its own vision. It didn't get the sequel that Raimi hoped it would, and Evil Dead once again went back into sort of long delay until 2019 when they got greenlit to do another film, which came out only this year as Evil Dead Rise. I haven't seen it myself, so I cannot vouch any opinion on it.
I also haven't seen it yet, but like usual, I have no hope at all that anything new will be good.
Yeah, I'm hesitant. There's a certain thing of do you just want to keep the thing going? Tell you what, I want to end on a question, which I think probably we know the answer, but let's get the framing in so I can also kick Scream 6. There's a bit where they reintroduce a legacy character, Gale Weathers, and they set her off on an absolutely terrible plot. It's a total like reset of the character, very disrespectful. The scene where they introduce her, I was watching the director's commentary and they were saying, you know, this just wasn't working. It wasn't working. We couldn't figure out what it was until we went back to the original soundtrack for Scream and we found the bit of soundtrack that played when Gale first meets Sydney outside the police station then, because we're kind of echoing that scene. And then it works. And I thought, their idea is if you get the sort of outer appearances, like the little symbols and signifiers, like a little jingle that was on the soundtrack, it doesn't matter what you do with the characters.
Yeah.
Like they're putting on the external signifiers, but not conveying the referent to use postmodern language. So basically all the sprinkles, but none of the cake, right?
Which wasn't the case with this movie, by the way.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah. I don't think that's the case with this movie because it's clear to me that people who worked on this, at least the people in charge, understood the material and deeply cared about delivering a good product. They weren't just in this to turn $1 into $2. This wasn't just a Hollywood cash grab to use an existing IP to cheaply and quickly put butts in seats and make money. I think that, oh, don't worry. I already chainsawed Super Nanny's head in half. We have all the time we want. The thing about this movie is even though I had my criticisms, and it's because this is, a remake reboot with modern era problems, that doesn't mean it's bad. The actors cared. They did a great job. The man who directed and wrote this did a great job. He loved the material. It had soul. It had purpose. It is an Evil Dead movie. The spirit of Evil Dead and the spirit of Sam Raimi is in this movie, and it's blatantly obvious. It doesn't suffer from that thing that you just brought up about what they were doing with Scream, where it's just the candy shell and there's nothing of substance on the inside. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true with this movie. I think this movie has real merit. It's enjoyable to watch. It has really moving scenes that will remind you of the Evil Dead that you love. And it has, even though I don't really like the tone and the character direction, I don't like the same character being the victim, the monster, and the hero. I have kind of a problem with that. But, it works. It's okay, I guess. Especially if you're setting her up to be like an action hero for an Evil Dead 2 reboot. Like, that's cool. I'm fine with that if it's a female hero. That's okay if it's done correctly. But, I'm okay with it. It's just, I had some problems. I had some things I didn't like about it. But it's certainly not a candy shell Hollywood regurgitation of a reboot. It's absolutely not that, I don't think.
Yeah, you said that perfectly. That is exactly where I am. It's the inverse of the Scream 6 problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's subtle. There are references to the original. They're in there, but it gets the spirit. So even though it's wildly different, it gets the spirit, and that's why I feel it's good Evil Dead movie.
It's good.
So yeah, you said that perfectly.
Well, thank you. Would you like me to rate it now, or is there more you want to talk about?
I'll just say, Marina, can someone chat? You've been around here. Please explain the super nanny law while we do the scores.
As you all know, I am unique in my scaling. I always rate out of 11 ghosts, right? That's what I do. Let me type in ghost emoji. There we go. I always rate out of 11 ghosts instead of out of 12 burgers. I give this a solid 7 out of 11 burgers 7 out of 11 ghosts as an Evil Dead reboot / remake. If this was not that, and this movie used this kind of trope about a young brother and sister being the progeny of some really powerful, evil, dark, satanic, almost Lovecraftian horror shit in the woods, and it set up the daughter to be like an avatar of justice against the evil shit that this cult did to her family, I would rate this like a 9 out of 11 ghosts. But because it's an Evil Dead thing, and it's supposed to be in the spirit of that, my criticisms make me rate it lower as an Evil Dead continuation, where I would have rated it like an 8.5 or a 9 out of 11 if it was new and doing its own thing with the new IP. You get what I'm saying with that? You get it? Okay. But regardless, it's a good movie that I do recommend to people now. Like, I like this film. This is good. And if you like Evil Dead, you'll like it. If you like creepy occult horror gore stuff, you'll probably like this. It's a good movie. So 7 or 7.5 out of 11 for me as it stands, and it would be like an 8.5 or a 9 out of 11 if it was its own thing and not a remake reboot. So there we go. That's it.
I think that's fair. The N Rehab has just come back in and dropped another 20. You are absolutely spoiling. You're fattening me up like a Christmas goose here. Thank you so much, the N Rehab. You absolute star. Right, I really have to drop. I'm gonna have to drop that video.
Apparently, the N Rehab is fattening you up so he can smell your filthy soul.
Oh no! Oh dear. And they say, I don't know, the effect of horror on kids these days. Oh my goodness. All right. 7 out of 11. I think that is profoundly respectable. That is firmly in the would recommend section.
Definitely.
I like that.
Because remember, on my scale, 5.5 is average. So I'm giving it a full 1.5 marks above average. This is a good movie, and I respect it. I respect the people who made it. I respect the actors for all doing a great job. Even the ones that didn't have a lot of good lines, like the blonde doctor lady, her body acting and face acting was incredible. She did a great job with like the movements and the gore and the horror and being a deadite. Like she did a fantastic job. Like the acting was great. All the actors, even the main character, David, who I thought was the worst, was still good. Like they were all really good. Well, the non-white nurse lady was probably on par with the David guy, but even though they were the worst actors or the worst presentation, they were still good and better than I expected in this movie. So all of the actors did great, even the ones that weren't as good as the others. I think the writing was good, the creation was good. I fully endorse people watching and sharing this movie.
Nice. Solid. I will absolutely back that. I will use the standard 12 burger scale. And I've thought about it. I'm kind of torn. I think I lean towards a strong 9. And it's a strong 9 because this is what I was battling over. You've heard me praise the visuals. The effects are amazing. No one is a dud actor. But I'm dropping points a little bit because I do like a bit of a deeper thing going on. Like I want a deeper theme. What they did with the addiction was nice, but it was not particularly hefty. So it brings it up a bit, but it's not very substantial. And I think character development was a little bit low. And there's a couple of the things that we picked up on, like the logic for why you're using the book. Those are sort of nitpicks from me. That's what gets it down to a 9, but it is a very strong 9 burgers, absolutely doused in all kinds of ketchup.
Plenty for this movie. It's a very gory movie.
Yeah, highly creative. So that's where I end up. It's strong because it's not as original as well, because it is following on a franchise. I go with that logic as well. So that's why it's a very strong 9. I would recommend this to most people. If they're wanting something for their Halloween watch, I would say if you're doing a multi-film watch, as I do, this is a beauty. There's 86 minutes of story. You can get your triple bill in, or you can do a double bill and be more normal than I am. But if you're going for a triple bill, an 86-minute film is very helpful. This doesn't waste your time. It's very good on that front. So,
absolutely. And that's another thing I didn't bring up. I did mention that there wasn't a lot of plot to get in the way of this movie and that it was fast paced. But like when it comes to proper movie blocking and structuring, this movie is grade A. Everything. There are 3 acts. There is building of tension appropriately at the right beats. There's violence and something new and escalation at the right times. This is a professionally grade A crafted and structured horror film. This is it is top tier when it comes to structuring, hitting all the beats, not wasting your time, and not having any pointless filler. It is grade A in that department.
Absolutely. I detect the hand of Sam Raimi on that, saying keep it tight, because all the other Evil Dead movies are super tight, under 90 minutes of story.
Yeah.
Not wasting time.
He learned his lesson with the first Evil Dead, because the first Evil Dead was supposed to be like 2 hours, and it was going to be a slower, more personal horror of the Bruce Campbell character having to kill and saw apart all of his best friends one after one. And it was supposed to be a longer, darker, more tragic story. But then after talking to his publisher friend or guy that he met, and he made advice on how to make the movie more marketable, Sam decided to cut down the first one and make it like 35 or 40 minutes shorter and change the tone of some of the scenes with music and sound effects. And it ended up being the product that we know and love today.
It's the right decision. All right. So I'll say, if you like this is a strong recommendation from us. If you liked it, do check out Don't Breathe from the same director. Well worth it. And I think that's probably everything. Oh, we have a late one from the Henry Ebb, a 9 burgers, no cheese. Yeah, definitely not cheesy. Looks great, good story, gory, but did not make me afraid to go to the bathroom mirror and look in the mirror at 1 a.m. I did notice discussion of they or Yizz. That is actually one of my Halloween movies this year.
Oh,
yes.
I can't wait.
Undecided on the other one. I'm torn between a whole bunch, like maybe Infinity Pool. Maybe
and you are talking about They that came out like 20 some years ago, around 2000.
Yeah, the French
Okay.
one.
Yeah. It's quite good, and
Yeah.
I would like to hear what you think about it after you see it, because it's one of the ones that sticks out in my mind as creepy, and I still think about sometimes when I hear things go bump in the dark.
Nice. I'm looking for. I'll definitely let you know how it goes. Right. So a reminder, folks. This is horror homework time. Now we had to bump our à l'intérieur stream or inside for the English title. That is going to happen on Sunday now. So I was going to do a community stream. We're going to do that in its place, but I'll do a little bit of a horror movie surgery. So if you want recommendations for Halloween, we'll do that as a topic. I will try and give you recommendations for your Halloween night viewing. That is on Sunday. We've got Shrouded Hand returning. Glad we were able to reschedule it. À l'intérieur is a film. It's from 2007. It's in French with subtitles. It is once again extremely gory and very challenging, but I recommend it. So that is Evil Dead 2013 reviewed. That is your horror homework delivered. We're doing an unusual one because it's Sunday, but I hope you'll catch me. And a last minute super chat. Thank you so much, Adam Loves Horror. You've been very generous tonight. It's much appreciated. Thank you both for your time and opinions, love and criticism. Grateful for the kindness of strangers as well. Grateful for the gift and this channel. Well, thank you so much. You've been very generous tonight yourself as well. And hope to see you around on future streams. Yeah, that's great. I've really enjoyed this one. Oh, we've just crossed over 2 hours 30. Right. So before Super Nanny comes.
Well, we started 1 minute late, so we're bang on.
Exactly. We'll be fine.
All right.
Thank you very much, Adam Loves Horror and the NREV, for very generous chats. If I've forgotten anyone else, I do apologize. But yeah, really enjoyed this one tonight. Yizz, thank you. You are, as always, a great guest.
Well, thank you, and I look forward to doing more with you in the future, and we will talk offline as to not make Super Nanny angry.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, y'all. Cheers.